Over there we never had the shot on target. So if we do that again, then we won't get through. We dominated possession, which I believe we'll do again tomorrow night at Anfield. But it's about what we do with that possession. It's about creating the chances and trying to be clinical in front of goal, and that's what we need to do tomorrow night. We need to create more chances than we did over there, and when they falter us, then we need to try and take them, because we're obviously 1-0 down and we need to try and overturn that. But on the flip side, we need to be wary of them going forward, and we need to try and keep a clean sheet to give us the best possible chance, and we need a complete Liverpool performance. And if we can do that, then we believe we cause any team's problems and we can beat any team, and hopefully tomorrow that's the case.
Well, he was keen to mention after the game 3 weeks ago that Atletico was celebrating almost like they'd won the tie, but of course we are at the halfway point, and he comes back in tonight. Richard, what was the issue with Andy Robertson at the weekend? Of course they played James Milner at left back in that Bournemouth win.
Yeah, it was referred to as a minor injury for Andy Robertson, but I think he's one player that maybe over the last couple of months regular Liverpool watchers would say perhaps hasn't hit the heights of the last 18 months. So perhaps the rest will do him good. I mean, Liverpool, like a lot of the top teams, rely on a huge amount of energy in their side. And this tonight, I know, will be their 48th game of the season. I think on several of them it has taken a toll. They lost their invincible record to Watford in the English Premier League, as people will know. And it just seemed to me to be, in that game, maybe the cup game against Chelsea a little bit, a lack of the intensity, or a drop-off of the kind of intensity that they have provided so regularly. Less pressure on the opponent, and just a step away defensively to allow the opponent space to do damage. Maybe the rest will do Robertson good. He's not just a defensive player by any means. He's going to be a key part of their attack tonight, and if Athletic do defend as narrow as they did in the first match, then those fullbacks getting down the sides of them and providing quality delivery is going to be absolutely vital. The return of Henderson, I think, is even more important.
So injured in the first leg, hasn't played since. What condition do we think Jordan Henderson's in tonight?
Well, he's trained in the build-up to this, so the signs are, I think, that he's ready, and that Jurgen Klopp's 100% happy to have him back in there. But I think even if he wasn't 100%, he might risk him for a game like this. Such has been his value in the midfield. And it's not just about his play, which is of an excellent standard now. He's 29 years of age, so he won't quite fit our social media question. But I mean, he's been at Liverpool for long enough now to know the ropes. And I think he's got better and better and better. But in terms of demanding that intensity from others around him, I think he's vital too.
Yeah, and he's had his standout season. There's no doubt about it. And, I was hearing, actually, Damian Comolli, who was sporting director who signed him, speaking about that recently.
It wasn't all that popular at the time, was it?
No, it wasn't. And it was a signing that for the couple of seasons afterwards, it was one of the things that was used as a stick to beat Comolli, of course, who left his job fairly shortly afterwards. But I think he can look back on that with some satisfaction. He was convinced by him. His scouts were convinced by him. And I think those tough times in the early years have made Henderson so much of what he is now. As you say, Richard, he has had his best ever season, but it's about more than the player, isn't it? It's about the personality. And I think on a night like this against Atletico, that's an absolutely huge asset.
I think as a unit overall, they probably all lead by example in the way they go about their play. Roberto Firmino apparently is quite a quiet character, but the way he presses from the front sets a tempo. But you do feel Van Dijk and Henderson in particular just offer a bit more of a kind of leadership, gravitas, traditional leadership, you might say, in a football dressing room, I feel.
Yeah, I think Milner actually offers quite a lot in those terms as well. He may not be as vocal as Henderson, but I think Milner has achieved so much, and he's so dedicated and so versatile and so consistent that I think his performances demand excellence from those around him as well. So, I mean, he's not starting tonight, James Milner, but having him there at the weekend as a backup, he could well come off the bench tonight for any number of players if they were to go down injured. I think he's important.
Well, if ever gets to penalties, they might well want James Milner on the pitch. We'll talk about the goalkeeper situation shortly, but at this stage, let's discuss Atletico. Is the big call from the team news, Andy, that Diego Costa starts? Richard was flagging the headline team news as he was going through there.
Is one of the big calls, which I suppose that's the biggest headline. But I think it is interesting that in previous UEFA Champions League years, the Atleti 11 for a knockout tie would have picked itself. I'm not sure it really does on this occasion. I think there was doubt whether they would take a gamble on Jimenez. I mean, he's still their best central defender.
He's on the bench, Jimenez, tonight, I should say, and so too is Lamar, along with Morata.
As Jimenez was at the weekend as well. For Salako, for Trippier, might have been another one, but Simeone's decided to stick with Kieran Trippier. Renan Lodi starting is a massive thing for them, because they played without really a proper left back, with Mario Odomorsu out on the left on Saturday, and that was a tough job for him against Sevilla. But it is Diego Costa's first start since he's been back from injury, and I think the idea of him being almost a specialist to take on the Premier League team, I think there's some of that. Obviously his aura, in a very different way to Jordan Henderson's, is a huge part of that, and you do wonder if he can do what he does it give that extra little bit of space for Joao Felix, who has looked more like himself in recent weeks. He got a start at the weekend as well, which was his first in a while. I think the front two together, who've really not played together at all because of Costa's injury, because of the little nagging injuries to Joao Felix. And this was the idea at the start of the season, that Simeone would play those two, and Morata, who's carrying a little injury, hasn't trained for the last couple of days, which I think has probably influenced the decision as well. But the idea was to play those three together as an attacking trident. Of course, worked brilliantly when they beat Real Madrid 7-3 in that legendary friendly. And you can't say many friendlies are legendary, but that was certainly one of them. So I think really Simeone can't know totally what to expect from those two. But the whole feeling around Atletico, as I said, that they felt they were too negative when they went to Turin last year. All they could say after that game against Sevilla at the weekend, we have to go to Anfield and score a goal, which I don't think previous Atleti teams under Simeone would have been locked into as a concept.
I think where Costa's concerned, I think psychologically, I think his name on the team sheet does something, because I'm putting myself in the mindset now of a Liverpool fan walking up to the game at Anfield. They hear Costa's in the team, or they hear Morata's in the team. I think there's a difference there. I think Costa brings with him an intimidation factor, to a certain degree, a fear factor. Not that they're scared of anybody at Anfield. Don't send in your tweets. But I think Costa brings something in that regard that Morata doesn't, through their relative performances in their times as Premier League players with Chelsea.
Okay, plenty more to come on this huge game tonight in the UEFA Champions League between Liverpool and Atletico. More fans are starting to spill in particular to the away section in the Anfield Road end, where the Atletico supporters will be tonight. But next we'll focus on a huge game in France, as Borussia Dortmund go to Paris Saint-Germain with a 2-1 advantage.
Enjoy the UEFA Champions League action with Matchday Live, then vote for the Player of the Week. You can pick your favourite at UEFA.com from midnight CET on Wednesday, with the winner announced there on Friday.
Okay, let's focus on our other match now, and we'll bring you all the goals and key moments from Paris Saint-Germain versus Dortmund at the Parc des Princes. The French champions, of course, are trailing 2-1 from the first leg, and the match is being held behind closed doors due to concerns over COVID-19. Our commentator for this one in France is Mike Sewell. Mike, I understand we do have the team news now.
We do, and before I get on to the Dortmund team news, which is fairly straightforward, Paris have made 5 changes from the first leg over in Germany. Many of those have been forced upon Thomas Tuchel, the Paris coach. We knew that Thiago Silva would probably be missing with a thigh injury. We weren't sure whether Kylian Mbappe would start, given that he's had a sore throat for the last few days and missed 2 days of training. I can tell you both of those players are out of the starting 11. Silva completely, Mbappe is on the bench. Meunier and Verratti we knew were suspended, and Kurzawa has also dropped to the substitutes bench. So the Paris lineup is Navas in goal, Thilo Kehrer, Pascal Kimpembe, Marquinhos and Juan Bernat across the back. Then it's Angel Di Maria, Leandro Paredes, Idrissa Gueye and Neymar in the four in midfield, with Sarabia supporting Cavani up front. So Mbappe starts on the bench. There's no Thiago Silva. It means that Marquinhos drops into the back line and will captain the Paris team. As for Dortmund, it's exactly the same starting 11 that played in Germany 3 weeks ago. So they have Berkey in goal. They have Piszczek, Hummels and Zagadou in their defence. Midfield four of Hakimi, Can, Witsel and Guerrero, and then it's Torgan Hazard and Jadon Sancho providing the attacking threat just behind Erling Braut Haaland.
Very interesting team news, Mike. Thank you, Andy. I want to get your reaction. First of all, let's start with Paris Saint-Germain. Got to go with Kylian Mbappe on the bench. Of course, there was speculation about whether he would be able to start. And it's been a feature of their campaigns in recent years that Neymar hasn't been available, in particular for a second leg in the round of 16. How big a loss is Kylian Mbappe tonight?
It's a loss. There's absolutely no doubt about that. I thought he was their biggest threat in the first game out in Dortmund. But having said that, will him coming off the bench in what promises to be a fairly tight tie be something that could possibly swing it in the last 20 minutes? Clearly his energy levels have been affected for Thomas Tuchel to leave him out, but Pablo Sarabia is a very fine player as well. And what I think is interesting is that they're starting with Edinson Cavani rather than Mauro Icardi, and I think that's really a sort of Thomas Tuchel almost vocalising what he feels he needs from his team tonight. He is going to get such work out of that front two, and it should give liberty to Neymar to do his stuff. Of course,
is that because Icardi doesn't do as much around the ball? He's quite a penalty box player, really, Mauro Icardi. Is that the thinking?
Yeah, I mean, Cavani's game and his are night and day. It's very labour-intensive. Cavani's game, he will do the pressing, he will do the running, he will do the harrying of defenders, despite being 33 years old, where Icardi is simply a clinical taker of chances. That's what he does. So it is a stylistic difference, and I think they're going to have to work out how to play a little differently, given that they're missing Marco Verratti, who is not just a linchpin of their midfield, he's a playmaker of sorts as well.
Mike, how are these two sides currently doing in their domestic leagues?
Well, Paris are marching towards another title in Liga, and they're 12 points clear of Marseille at the moment, and really that's a side issue to what is the most important thing, and that's the UEFA Champions League for the owners and the club themselves. As for Dortmund, they're second in the Bundesliga, 4 points off Bayern at the moment, but still in with a very good shout of winning the Bundesliga title. They're also in a really good vein of form as well. They've won their last 5 games in all competitions. They've only conceded a couple of goals. Their European away form isn't particularly great on paper, but given the way that they've played since the turn of the year and the arrivals, I mentioned it in the introduction, the arrivals of Can and Erling Braut Haaland, they really are in a rich vein of form. Paris themselves, to be honest, if you look at it, their loss to Dortmund is their only defeat in their last 27 games. In fact, the only home defeat they've suffered in the 12 months since they lost to Manchester United at this stage last season was against Reims in September. So they've won most of those games since that point. So they're very strong at home, albeit in a league that isn't necessarily as strong as it is in Germany. But this is really well poised, this game, given that Dortmund just have this 1-goal advantage.
And not infeasible, that goes to extra time and penalties as well, Mike. On to the Dortmund team selection. Of course, Royce and Delaney missed the first leg, and it's the case again tonight. I think you said the team's unchanged. Is that right from the first leg?
Exactly the same starting 11.
Was there any surprise? Were there any question marks? Was there any players who potentially could come in?
There was a possibility that Torgan Hazard may be replaced by Julian Brandt, who has also been in decent form, but basically Lucien Favre has gone with Hazard, even though he's actually on a yellow card going into this game. So should he pick up a yellow card tonight, he would miss, should they get through, the first leg of a quarter-final. But maybe he just feels that he wants to keep this as stable as possible. They played very well in that first leg, as Andy pointed out, and they'll feel confident, especially given the fact that it's going to be a situation where Dortmund have this advantage, and they've on all but one occasion in the past when they've won the home leg of a knockout tie in Europe, they've gone through.
Mike, thank you very much. Mike Stewart watching Paris Saint-Germain versus Dortmund tonight for us here on Matchday Live. Andy, I think worth mentioning as well that Jadon Sancho, of course, in the starting 11 for Dortmund tonight, didn't actually start against Gladbach at the weekend. It was a game in which they could bring him on, and he essentially created the chance that won the game and nearly scored himself, so he might be in good shape for this.
Yeah, and I think, as you say, Rob, the idea to give him a little rest was a sound one. I think they wanted to reintroduce Thorgan Hazard into the team, certainly against his former club, the feeling that he'd be very motivated. He gave perhaps his best performance for Dortmund since moving there so far. But as you say, the ability to bring Sancho off the bench in the last half hour, as I said before, I think that's what Tuchel will look to do with Kylian Mbappe. You know, to bring on a player with that sort of electricity about him, really, in the closing stage of the game. They had to put him on the bench, didn't
they? I mean, they just had to put him on the bench tonight if he was going to be involved at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in an ideal world, it will all go brilliantly and Tuchel won't need him from a Paris Saint-Germain perspective. But they need that as backup.
OK, it's worth noting as well that Neymar, who missed the round of 16, of course, the last couple of the season's notable games anyway, has been directly involved in 37 goals in 27 home Champions League appearances between his time between Barcelona and Paris Saint-Germain. Don't go anywhere, right here on Matchday Live. Lots more build-up to come ahead of Liverpool versus Atletico.
You're listening to UEFA Champions League Matchday Live.
A place in the Champions League quarter-finals is at stake, and Liverpool have it all to do as they take on Atletico at Anfield.
It's curling away from Alisson's goal, drops inside the area, and Atletico have the lead. It's touched home by Saul from a couple of metres out. We've only played 4 minutes. Atletico Madrid 1, Liverpool 0.
Liverpool boss Jurgen Klopp knows his team must be close to perfect to overturn that deficit.
We have to produce a performance on the pitch which has to be exceptional, absolutely in all departments.
Full commentary on Liverpool Atletico to come. Also tonight, can Paris Saint-Germain avoid another last 16 exit after defeat at Dortmund?
And the effort is in! Oh, what a hit from Haaland! This game has come to life with a blockbuster from Haaland, making it Dortmund 2, Paris 1.
We'll go to extra time and penalties if we need to find out who will make it to the Champions League quarter-finals. Welcome to Matchday Live with me, Rob Daly. What a night we have in store. And the all-important team news from our 2 matches has dropped. Richard Connolly is our commentator for Liverpool versus Atletico.
And Rob, Liverpool have their captain back on a night when leadership surely is going to be vital. Jordan Henderson returns from a hamstring injury, but Alisson, we know, remains injured. So Adrian will play in goal, his first knockout match in the UEFA Champions League. Atletico, 3 changes from the first leg. Trippier is back from injury at right back. Joao Felix and Diego Costa will be the front pair, strikers of different experience and skill sets. But can they combine for the away goal that would unsettle the champions and might unseat them too?
And we have the team news from the Parc des Princes for Paris Saint-Germain versus Borussia Dortmund. Mike Stewart will be watching this one.
A mix of injury, illness and suspension has forced the hand of Thomas Tuchel. Kylian Mbappe starts on the bench after 2 days of missed training due to a sore throat. Captain Thiago Silva is injured. Marco Verratti and Thomas Meunier suspended. Layvin Kurzawa drops to the bench. In come Bernat, Kehrer, Paredes, Sarabia and Edinson Cavani, who's preferred up front to Mauro Icardi. As for Dortmund, unchanged from the first leg 3 weeks ago, Thorgan Hazard is preferred to Julian Brandt.
And we want you to get involved tonight. Josip Ilicic scored 4 goals for Atalanta last night at the age of 32 years and 41 days, and he's nicknamed the Grandma by his teammates. So here is tonight's topic. Who are your favourite Champions League players still going strong, or who were still going strong into their 30s? The question is up on Twitter now, at Champions League. Go there and leave your answer. Use the hashtag MatchDayLive as well, and we'll read out as many as we can. So a huge match tonight between Atletico and Liverpool. Liverpool have that 1-0 advantage from the first leg. And Richard Conley, would you have either side as favourites to progress to the quarter-finals here?
Honestly, I think I would still make Liverpool favourites. I mean, you just have to look at the numbers. The staggering numbers that they have put up since Jurgen Klopp arrived. Namely, they have not lost a European game at Anfield since he took over in October 2015. Their last defeat at Anfield in a UEFA competition was to a side from Madrid, Real Madrid, back in October of 2014. I mean, that's a staggeringly long time to go without losing. They haven't lost a game on home soil at all since a League Cup tie against Chelsea in September of 2018. So when a team dominates that often at home, you have to go with them. I think you're playing the odds if you do. Of course, the complication is that any old win isn't good enough tonight. A 1-0 victory will take us to extra time and whatever comes after that. And if Atletico were to score, then Liverpool would need to score 3 times. And they have been just a little bit stuttery of late, starting perhaps with the first leg defeat. They lost in the English Premier League. They've lost in the FA Cup. They got a win at the weekend, but they have now conceded first in 5 consecutive games. And that's got to be a bit of a concern, because defensive aptitude was the one thing that they really have added in the last 18 months to add to the attacking flair and the heavy metal, thunderous football that they have produced so regularly under Jurgen Klopp. So it's not been the best passage for Liverpool, but I would still make them favourites.
The floodlights are on at Anfield. Fans are starting to spill in and fill up those red and white seats all around Anfield on Merseyside tonight. Of course, a fantastic atmosphere in store. We've seen some tremendous European nights at Anfield in recent years. Andy Brassel, our European football expert, is alongside us too. Andy, great to be joined by you tonight. I was hearing a Spanish journalist saying that this season in particular, Atletico outside the top 4 currently in Spain, that they are a different team in the Champions League. It does something to them. Would you go along with that?
Yeah, I would, because the first leg performance was quite unexpected. Not perhaps to casual Atletico watchers who see them pull out these titanic defensive displays in the UEFA Champions League year after year after year. That they haven't been able to do that. They've drawn far too many games in La Liga this season, and that's why they're outside the top 4 rather than being title challengers. They still don't concede many goals. They're still quite tough to beat. But that inability to close out games has been a real issue for them, and they've had a strange sort of sidelining, conceding quite cheap set-piece goals, which is something Liverpool will want to prey on tonight if they possibly can. Having said that, they didn't get anywhere near a sniff in the first game. It was like Atletico 2014 or Atletico 2016 or any of those other great defensive rocks of sides. So I think the fact that they've gone to Anfield as well with, I think you look at Diego Simeone's lineup, there is a desire to score there as well. So there is a sense that even with their ability to pull something special out of the bag for the Champions League, they know they're going to be under enormous pressure tonight, and it'll be really tough to keep Liverpool out.
7 of Atletico's 13 visits to England have ended as draws. That would be good enough tonight. They've only lost 4 times. Well, one of their key players this season has certainly been their defensive midfielder, Thomas Partey. The Ghanaian has been at the club since 2011, but his performances over the past year in particular have really caught our attention. Reporter Alex Aljo has been finding out more.
Thomas Partey, Atletico de Madrid, my journey.
Many have played in the UEFA Champions League, but very few have had a journey to the top like Thomas Partey. Born in Ghana in 1993, Partey moved to Spain as a teenager to turn his dream into a reality.
I remember I was very young. I go to the second division of Ghana. Very young, I was 17. I got an agent who is Ghanaian working with a Spanish agent, and he told me I'm going to Spain to tryouts. He didn't tell me where I'm coming. So when we get here, he said, first you have to go to Atletico Madrid, and if they don't take you, you ask us to take you to any team that you want to try out. So I said, okay.
After arriving in Madrid in 2011, there was no overnight success for Partey. He started at Atletico's reserves before going out on loan to Mallorca and Almeria. He waited until 2015 to return to Atletico and make his first team debut, but he's now made over 100 appearances.
It's like a dream come true, you know. Sometimes I don't think I'm the one who is here, because I look back to my friends and I can't even imagine myself here, because sometimes I want to ask them, what have I done to be here and why are they not here? But then I tell myself, maybe because I was patient, I was not in a hurry to make it.
The 25-year-old played a starring role in Atletico's Europa League success in 2018 and has emerged as one of Europe's finest holding midfielders. Partey's attributes have forced people to stand up and take notice.
Three players in support. He's picked out Diego Costa. Costa! It's put in by Thomas Partey.
I don't see myself as a key player yet, because I've had a lot of important players ahead. My dream is to be able to get to higher level than them, to be able to achieve something that they've never achieved in this team.
Tonight is a huge match for Partey and Atletico as they take on Champions League holders Liverpool at Anfield, and the Spaniards have the advantage from the first leg.
It's curling away from Alisson's goal, drops inside the area, and Atletico have the lead. It's touched home by Saul from a couple of metres out. We've only played 4 minutes. Atletico Madrid 1, Liverpool 0.
Well, I think it's going to be very difficult. They are doing a great job. They have one of the best players, best team, like best group in the world now. They are working hard. They are achieving a lot of important trophies. They don't need to underrate us, because football, you can underrate your opponent. So I hope they'll be able to underrate us and we will surprise them.
There seems little chance of Liverpool underrating Atletico now, and underrating their brilliant midfielder Thomas Partey could also be a big mistake.
Thomas Partey there, great to hear from him. He has been a key player for Atletico in this evolving Atletico side, and of course he partners Saul Niguez in the heart of the Atletico midfield at Liverpool tonight. The Atletico supporters have basically filled up their section of the Anfield Road end currently as they've made the journey over from Madrid. Liverpool fans starting to arrive. Great to hear from him there, Richard, and I'll confess I didn't know a tremendous deal about Thomas Partey's journey to Madrid and to the Champions League, but you see this, how many African players take the risk, they come over to the continent, and it's paid off for an industrious player like him.
Well, I mean, there are a number of things to say about that particular story, but firstly, to have the courage in yourself to leave home and go overseas at the age of 17, leave all your family behind, hoping for the best, but knowing full well that it might not work out, because the stories are legion of those who haven't managed to make a life as a professional footballer, having made that trip. And you can understand why he looks around him and says, well, listen, why am I the lucky one? Because to turn up and at the first club that you have the trial for, to be still with them 9 years later, I mean, that really is a staggering story, but it is testament to his persistence, his dedication, his fortitude, as well as clearly innate talent, to be able to make it as far as he has. And he was modestly saying in that interview that he is not, or does not consider himself, a key player. Well, he's one of a small handful who started every game in the UEFA Champions League this season, and he started 21 of our 27 games in the Spanish Liga this season, so the numbers would indicate that he has become one.
And you know, Richard, there's been an enormous amount of talk in Madrid this week about just how vital he is to Atletico, because when they've talked about repeating the mistakes of the second leg in Turin at this stage last season, they were saying, well, the big two things, is we had a suspended Diego Costa and we had a suspended Thomas Partey, and that made an enormous difference to them in terms of presence in those areas of the pitch, in terms of drive, in terms of personality, and that's really what they seem to be lacking in that second leg. So, you know, there's no one at the club who's in any doubt about how valuable he is.
He's picked up 10 yellow cards in the Spanish Liga this season. I'm not sure that will count against him when it comes to team sheet being written.
No, absolutely right. Atletico have progressed from 4 of their 5 previous Champions League knockout ties when winning the first leg. Of course, you mentioned, Andy, the tie last year with Juventus, and of course there was the Ronaldo factor in that. But I wonder, gents, how surprised you were by the first leg performance. I mean, the early goal, I think you said this, Richard, the early goal set up, it almost invited Atletico to go back to the old Champions League ways that they know. But were you surprised by the manner and the quality of the defensive performance?
Well, in one sense, no, but then I am the kind of casual watcher that Andy describes, who is sort of more familiar with Atletico under Simeone on the bigger nights than I have been over their Spanish Liga campaign. And as Andy will explain in greater detail, I mean, there's been a great deal of movement, players out and players in. This is recognisable, but barely recognisable in terms of personnel from this season to last. And while the players are different, that was a performance that is recognisable to those of us who do think of Atletico from their Champions League endeavours over the past 5 or 6 seasons. So to some extent, no, not surprised, but I think those players will be pleased, and Simeone will be pleased that he can get that kind of familiar tune out of them.
Yeah, I think it was Atletico on their date night behaviour. It wasn't like t-shirt and jeans, it was very much blazer and cravat, wasn't it, in footballing terms. And I just feel that Simeone is so important in this, and especially in the build-up to the second game. We always know how big he is on symbolism, and has been always since he's been the head coach at Atletico Madrid. He's someone who understands the club, who understands what it's about, and that's why the move to the Stadio Metropolitano was such a big one, because not just in terms of dimension of the club, but geographically. He always spoke quite passionately about, we're the team of the barrio, we're the team of the people, we're the working class team. And then when you move away from that place, what do? You know, it affects the identity not just of the club, but of the team. And I thought it was very notable in training yesterday, who would visit after all this huge turnover but Gabi. Gabi decided to drop in. Of course, his last touch as an Atletico Madrid player was that goal in the Stade OL Dessine to make sure of the Europa League win against Marseille a couple of years ago, and he's been off in the Middle East since. But that's been one of the major issues for Simeone, the fact that, as Richard says, to think of an elite team that's had such a dramatic and profound turnover of starters in the last year or two, it's really hard to find an equal. Maybe you could say Sevilla, but of course they're more regularly in the UEFA Europa League than the UEFA Champions League.
And probably a bit more regular in the turnover of talent anyway.
Absolutely. That's spot on, Rob. But I think when you look at that, it's not just the fact that the number of players, it's the fact that it's been Gabi, it's been Fernando Torres, it's been Felipe Luis, it's been Diego Godin, real leaders, people who you cut them and they bleed Atletico. And the new players, there's a lot of formidable talent in the squad, but they're having to learn how to really be Atletico players.
Well, let's focus on Liverpool next, and Jurgen Klopp says his players must use Anfield to their advantage later.
We have to produce a performance on the pitch which has to be exceptional, absolutely in all departments, because playing against the deep defending side is one thing, but with the counter-attacking threat they are on the other side makes it even more difficult. So each player, offensive player, can be really dangerous in these moments. And it's not only them; it's set pieces, stuff like this. Very experienced team, played in these competitions for a really long time, and they know how to deal with different situations. That's all clear. But I don't think one of them, maybe Diego Costa, and Morata, yeah. Not a lot of them played before in a stadium like Anfield, in an atmosphere like we can create, and that's something what we want to use, and hopefully we can.
It's funny because Diego Simeone even touched upon this in his press conference. I've never had the chance to go to Anfield as a coach or a player. I've never had the chance to play in such a magnificent stadium, home to a side with such history. And, you know, Liverpool in particular will be relieved that their fans are allowed in tonight to generate the atmosphere that we expect on a Champions League night. And Richard, when I hear, I don't know if you ever saw those clips of Jose Mourinho, Arsene Wenger on TV, on some channel far away, talking about how the magic of Anfield and what it does on a European night is very real. There's no myth here. This does do something on a Champions League night.
Yes, and, you know, Andy's talking about the maintaining your identity as your home changes. Well, Anfield has been, you know, redeveloped in a way that has very much kept and enhanced that atmosphere. So yes, it's perhaps not the Anfield, the cop of the olden days, or the all-standing terraces behind the goal. And the numbers may be down, but the numbers have increased again since the expansion of the main stand. And yeah, both sides to a degree are thinking of comebacks at this point in the competition. And he has spoken about Atleti losing to Juventus at this stage last year. Well, the last knockout game on this ground, we know, was the second leg of the semi-final against Barcelona, Spanish opposition, who came and were torn apart, and a 3-0 deficit that we thought was insurmountable. And at least we thought that, well, Barcelona, at least with Messi, would get an away goal, wouldn't they? And that would mean Liverpool would have to score 5. Well, it's kind of a similar sort of conversation that we are having tonight. And of course, the fans who are going to create the atmosphere have had those kind of conversations in the pubs beforehand down the years as well, and they know full well that it can happen because they've seen it in front of their very eyes. So yeah, it's a magical night for them. Where the personnel are concerned, we're just seeing pictures on our monitor of Adrian going through his warm-up, and I think there is one example of an individual who may not have experienced something like this tonight, and who is going to face one of the biggest nights, if not the biggest night, of his footballing career. So that's something where, will he be able to deal with this unique atmosphere? Will the Atletico players cope with it? Probably.
Yeah, we can see Adrian in front of the Kop right now. We got a tremendous reception on his debut when he came on the opening day of the season against Norwich for Alisson when he got injured early. It is a big night for him, but of course Liverpool are not as good a side, Andy, without Alisson in the team, and I feel like we've seen that even more this season than last season when he was UEFA's goalkeeper of the year.
I do feel, though, against Atletico, a side that aren't possession heavy, having a goalkeeper whose main function is not keeping the ball is not necessarily such a big deal. Of course they'll miss him because he's as good as it gets as a goalkeeper in so many ways, Alisson. You know, there's no point denying that. And I think if you look at his range of passing, he would arguably be an upgrade on not just Atletico's midfield, but most midfields in the UEFA Champions League. You know, he's an all-round football player. But the thing is, it's not like you're playing Barcelona, and if you give them the ball, it will take you 3 minutes to get it back. Atletico aren't interested in possession. That's not their thing.
Can I put to you, though, that, and it was a point made, I think, by Gary Neville or someone on English TV, that Liverpool are allowed to play a high line because of Alisson's proactiveness off his goal line. And won't Atletico look to play on the counter? Won't they look to play with the ball over the top into those gaps between the back four and the goalkeeper? Would there not be a case for that? Maybe I don't really know João Felix's off the ball movement as well as you might.
There's something to be said for that, but I think you look at that front two, and I know people will look at João Felix and say Kaká Mark II, but he's got a bit of the bustling centre forward to him because he can drop and make the passes. He's just as likely to win you a back post header as well, and so I think it's not like you're playing against Mbappe or Salah or Mane.
Or even that Antoine Griezmann goal at Bayern. Do you remember that one where he broke in behind?
Exactly. That's exactly the sort of thing that you were talking about, weren't you? I don't think they're as prone to that, although clearly it is a risk.
I think it's João Felix's sort of boyish face that sort of tricks me. I can't think of him as an all-elbows centre-forward tonight for Atletico. Shall we hear from Liverpool defender Andy Robertson, of course, back in the starting 11 tonight. He says the Reds have to avoid getting frustrated against the Roji Blancos.
You know, obviously we have experience of, you know, coming up against them now. We've had that one game, and to be honest, I thought over there we dealt with it pretty well. Yeah, of course it's frustrating at times, but you know, it's not going to change. So that's up to, you know, we're out of control of that. It's up to, you know, whether the referee or officials or whatever to deal with it if it's getting too much. But for us, we need to focus on our game. We need to, we can't be getting annoyed at stuff that we can't control. We need to stay clear. We need to stay calm in our heads. And if we do that, that gives us the best possible chance to perform at highest levels.
From one Liverpool defender to another, Gary Gillespie joins us on the line now. Gary, thank you very much for coming on the show. We just heard from Andy Robertson there, Gary. How big a boost is it to have he and Jordan Henderson back tonight, do you think?
Well, vitally important. I think it was always going to happen. I think Robertson was just rested at the weekend, but a big plus, I think, to have the skipper back. Probably missed him in recent weeks with his leadership qualities. And he obviously comes in place of Fabinho. Fabinho might have started and Jordan might have played alongside him, but I like the balance in the middle of the park. I think Oxlade-Chamberlain gives you that little bit of something different in forward areas of the pitch, and I think Jordan will slip and play that number 6 role that Jurgen Klopp likes to call it.
So, Gary, how important do you think it is for Van Dijk and Gomez to stand up physically to Joao Felix and especially Diego Costa?
Well, I think, again, it comes as no surprise that these two start. I think Costa's missed an awful lot of football through injury. But, I mean, we've seen him before. We know what he's all about. He'll be getting into the mindset of the two centre-backs, and vitally important that Liverpool don't concede a goal. I think, first and foremost, the atmosphere in the stadium is going to be electric, but you have to be a little bit guarded against that, play it a little bit cautiously. You do not want to give Atletico a goal early on, like we did across there, because that really does give them something to hold on to, and they are masters at doing that. So vitally important. Concentration levels, you would expect Liverpool to have an awful lot of the ball, and when they do that, then I think it's vitally important that the two centre-backs, and probably Jordan Henderson included in that, vitally important that they switch on defensively and don't leave these guys unmarked.
Gary, I feel like when you watch a team every week, you do get that in-depth understanding of when players come in and out and the nuances of change where things alter. What have you seen from Liverpool? And obviously there was rotation in the FA Cup, for example, but for them to lose 3 of their last 5 in all competitions, have you seen a notable drop-off in one department or another?
Well, we maybe lost a little bit of drive going forward. I think we didn't obviously have a shot at goal, I think, in the first leg against Atletico. We're not quite firing all cylinders, and we've been doing that for a lot of games this season, but we've always managed to find a way to create and score goals, and I think a creative kind of side of the game has maybe not been fantastic, and so much of the creative side comes from the wide areas, and the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold and Andrew Robertson. So vitally important that we get them in the game, get balls into the box, put pressure on defenders, ask them questions, make them work. And I'm sure the ability that we've got can't keep not having shots at goal when you've got players like Sadio Mane, Roberto Firmino and Mohamed Salah. And I emphasise, Roberto Firmino for me is the one that, if he plays well tonight, then I think Liverpool will click and I think Liverpool will win the game comfortably. He hasn't quite been at his best in recent games, along with a few others. But in saying that, I think he's key for me. Every time that he plays well, I think Liverpool play well.
And Gary, as you were saying about the fullbacks and how much they contribute in an attacking sense, this could be a big night for Alexander-Arnold and Robertson, especially when you bear in mind that Atletico tend to be a little bit narrow in midfield.
Well, that's what they will do. I think you will see that the midfield will certainly be narrow. I think your back 4 will be narrow as well. I think your fullbacks will be tucked in. And there's big question. Well, there's an awful lot asked on the wide midfield players that they have to get back and defend against the fullbacks. So I think at times you will probably see that Atletico will probably have 6 players across the 18-yard box, the width of the not the width of the 18-yard box, but the width of the pitch. I wouldn't imagine the back 4 will be stretched too much outside the width of the 18-yard box. And we've seen Bournemouth try to do it at the weekend. Other teams have certainly come to Anfield and tried to do that. And it's whether you've got the capability to hold out for 90 minutes and maybe even longer tonight. I could see it going I can actually see it going the distance and possibly even going to penalties.
Yeah, I think so too, actually, as well. We're braced for a long one tonight, Gary. I wonder as well, Liverpool got to the Champions League final 2018, reached the final again and won it in 2019, and the Premier League has been so much the focus this season, ending the 30-year title drought. They're 2 wins away from it, of course. Do you think there's been an element of Liverpool dropping off at times in the Champions League because they've done it, because the Premier League has been such a big factor, or has it just been the tactical battles they've faced on the road in Europe?
I think the latter of these two. I don't think. I think if you watch them on a regular basis and the intensity that they approach games, and certainly the coaching staff and the manager, I don't think would allow that to happen. To be quite honest with you, I think it's just that in certain games away from home we've struggled in Europe. But at Anfield, again, it's been a bit of a fortress, and hopefully that's the case again tonight, because Liverpool will have to be somewhere near their best, I think, if they've got to get the results to get themselves through.
Okay, Gary, so finally, and we'll leave you alone now, I promise, it goes to penalties in your prediction.
Yeah.
Which way is it going? No Alisson, of course, in goal for Liverpool tonight.
Well, sometimes that's made the script, isn't it? Adrian could be the hero, and
like the Super Cup, the UEFA Super Cup. I think he did against Chelsea, didn't he?
Exactly, yeah. So I think sometimes, football has these funny habits of creating these little ironies and making headlines, and that might just be the case. If it does go to penalties, home advantage, I think, might come into play. But let's hope it's done and dusted before that. But I am bracing myself for quite a long evening.
Gary, thank you very much for your company. It's been great to speak to you. Former Liverpool defender Gary Gillespie, of course, who has lifted the European Cup back in 1984. Great to get his thoughts there. Penalties, Richard, what do you think? Have you got your penalty stats ready?
I have, and the favourite one of penalty stats. I mean, should we get it out now, just in case we don't go the distance?
Exactly right, yeah.
The Atletico Madrid's first ever penalty shootout was in England in November of 1974. They lost it to Derby County, 7-6 after 2-2 draws, home and away, and Derby went on to be champions of England then.
I'm delighted that we got through that, Richard, because heaven forbid it should be like 3-3 and we never heard that.
I do have a penchant for the obscure sometimes, so welcome to my world.
It's why you get
you can leave now.
Richard, thank you very much. Of course, stay with us. We're around 30 minutes from kickoff in tonight's Champions League last 16 second legs.
Enjoy the UEFA Champions League action with Matchday Live, then vote for the Player of the Week. You can pick your favourites at UEFA.com from midnight CET on Wednesday, with the winner announced there on Friday.
Okay, let's take a quick look back at last night's Champions League action, starting with Leipzig to progress to the quarterfinals, of course, for the first time after beating Tottenham Hotspur 3-0 on the night in the east of Germany. It was 4-0 on aggregate. Leipzig boss Julian Nagelsmann was delighted with how his players performed.
Yeah, very happy. My team could deal well with to be nervous in knockout stages games, because we're the first time in knockout stage, and it's not easy for a young team like mine that to play against Tottenham Hotspur, the team who were in the final last season. They do not perform that well this season, but it's also a strong team. Doesn't matter if they have injured players. We have also injured players, so it's nearly the same, I think. And at the end, I'm happy that my guys had a good control, that they were self-confident, that they tried to play our way of playing soccer, and to beat the biggest teams in the Champions League, you have to be fit in nearly every situation. You have to have 100% power to attack, to win the balls, and you can deal with that if you have a good ball position.
Julian Nagelsmann there, of course, he has coached in the Champions League before with Hoffenheim, but it kicked it up a gear with this brilliant Leipzig side. And Andy Brassel, they were tremendous last night. 2-0 up in 21 minutes through Marcel Sabitzer's double, and it never looked like a miracle like Ajax last year was on for Spurs.
But no, it didn't. Not even when it got to 2-0, unfortunately, for Tottenham. And I just thought Leipzig paced it excellently. And once they had their foot on the throat of Tottenham, they didn't let up. And we understand Tottenham are a little fragile at the moment with injuries, and that's tough, that's unfortunate. But this is a team and a set of players who are mostly strangers to this level of the competition. We've got a coach who, despite the fact he's feted around the world, and quite rightly so, is a stranger to this level of the competition. So I thought for him to tactically outsmart such a UEFA Champions League legend as Jose Mourinho is hugely impressive, and we're all looking forward to seeing them in the last 8.
Well, let's hear from the Spurs camp next. We'll hear from their false 9, Dele Alli, in a moment. But first, their boss Jose Mourinho says his players can use this result to move forward.
Sometimes difficult moments are moments that can prepare the future in a better way. Of course, there is nobody to blame when it looks like in every match we have a traumatic injury. You come to a Champions League knockout game and look to our bench and look to the pitch with Tanganga on his first match, Sessegnon on his second match. It's very, very hard, and I can't blame the players, because the players, they gave what they can.
I have to apologise to the fans, obviously going out, they travelled all this way, and to go out and lose like that, they deserve better. We know this hasn't been a good season for us, but we can't hide now, we can't give up, we have to keep fighting. In games like this, you know, it brings you down to reality, and reality is we're in a bad situation that we have to turn around, and we're the only ones that can do that. So, you know, the confidence is obviously gone at the minute, but big game of the weekend, and we have to pick ourselves up, we have to go again. As difficult as it's going to be, we have to turn this around, because like you say, the reality is we're in a bad situation, and we're the only ones that can turn that around.
I think you can almost hear in Dele Alli's voice that they really believe they should be at this level. The run to the final, of course, gave them the taste of glorious Champions League knockout nights. Andy, where do you fall on the argument that this is the end of an era, certainly a generation of Spurs players that have been playing together for a long time under Pochettino, that maybe is starting to disassemble? We saw Christian Eriksen leave, for example, in January.
Yeah, I don't think that's an unreasonable theory, and I think you look at the way in which they got to the UEFA Champions League final last year. It was thrilling, it was exciting, it was also slightly ramshackle, and that was part of what made it so good, that it was fractious and unpredictable. It wasn't smooth by any stretch of the imagination.
Far from it.
It was a set of players giving everything they could for a club they'd enjoyed a fantastic time for, and in some cases continue to play for. So I do think Spurs need a rethink, but then again, it just shows you how far expectations for Tottenham raised in the last even 2 years, really, in the UEFA Champions League under Mauricio Pochettino, because they went from novices to excellent in a very, very short space of time, and the players as well as Pochettino really deserve enormous credit for that.
Well, Atalanta will join Leipzig in the last 8 after beating Valencia 4-3 on the night in Spain. 8-4 on aggregate. What a great fun scoreline that is. 8-4 on aggregate. And it was Atalanta's sensational Slovenian who got all 4 of their goals last night.
And here's Ilicic, left-footed to make it 4-3. Atalanta on the night, his 4th goal of the game, and the Italian side now lead 8-4 on aggregate. What a run of form he's in, the 32-year-old Slovenian. 16 goals now in his last 12 matches in all competitions.
Well, I'll refine that from commentator Joe Shannon. 32 and 41 days, Josip Ilicic. What a player. I mean, I really like this, Andy, that his teammates call him Grandma, because whenever he gets into training, he's always absolutely knackered. And if anyone asks him, how are you doing? He always says, bad. But, I mean, he looked pretty sharp to me last night, and I know a couple of them were penalties, but that goal even for his 4th, just tremendous. Tremendous goals.
The technique's spectacular, and the technique of his goal in the first leg in San Siro is with his wrong foot, in inverted commas, his right foot, was absolutely spectacular. And I know we've talked about him off air, Rob, and said he's got something of the English great Chris Waddle about him. You know, that sort of lazy, loping stride. There's nothing enormously athletic about him, but I think that's something across all sports that we can relate to. It's why people all across the world, and probably some people listening, will absolutely love Steph Curry, for example, of the Golden State Warriors, because he doesn't look like an athletic Superman, but once he gets out there, he does things that make you blink and think, did that really happen?
I wonder if anecdotally, from a scouting point of view, from a manager point of view, because, you know, we are influenced by purely what we see, not just numbers and everything, whether it ever did stop him getting that elite level move, because there was a point where he was one of the most exciting players on the continent, whether a manager, a coach looks at him labouring around like that and just thinks, oh, he's not what I'm looking for.
Maybe. I mean, I think, you know, without lapsing into cliche, it's just pure technique. That's all it is really with Ilicic. If you had to describe what makes him so great, it is just, in inverted commas, the technique. But I think you have to say that Gianpiero Gasperini has done an absolutely fantastic job.
Yeah, how far can they go? I mean, they're conceding a lot. Can they go beyond the quarters, do you think?
I do wonder if they'll get found out by one of the absolute elite teams in this competition.
Yeah.
I think in terms of the amount of chances they concede, and, you know, you talked about it being a tremendous scoreline, 8-4. It could have been like 16-14 over the two legs. Both sides created so many chances. But long may it continue. They're absolutely tremendous to watch. And I think when you're a team starting out in the UEFA Champions League, you want to transfer your domestic form that got you there into the UEFA club competition environment. And that's exactly what they've done, to the letter.
From the grandma of Atalanta to the grandma of the show, Andy, thank you very much. Reminder of the games next week in the round of 16. Manchester City hosting Real Madrid 2-1 up. Lyon at Juve 1-0 up, the French side. Wednesday the 18th of March, Barcelona 1, Napoli 1. And Bayern 3, Chelsea 0, of course, one of those being played behind closed doors because of the COVID-19 outbreak. But fans in attendance, the Kop's almost full tonight on Merseyside. The excitement is building. We are 20 minutes away from kickoff in tonight's Champions League matches.
You're listening to UEFA Champions League Matchday Live.
It's a huge night of football. We have full commentary on last season's winners, Liverpool, taking on Atletico at Anfield. Richard Connolly can remind us of the teams.
Yeah, Liverpool trail by a single goal from the first leg and haven't lost in Europe at Anfield in 5.5 years, never under Jurgen Klopp. From the first leg, the two changes. Alisson is out injured, Fabinho is left out, Adrian's in goal, Jordan Henderson returns, and he will captain the Reds tonight. 3 changes from the first leg for Atletico. Versalico, Lemar and Morata all drop down to the bench to accommodate Trippier, Diego Costa and João Felix. Atleti's injury problems are clearing. Their bench does look strong.
And we have all the action too from France as Paris Saint-Germain host Borussia Dortmund. This one's being watched by Mike Sewell.
Thomas Tuchel has made 5 changes to his team from the first leg in Germany 3 weeks ago. 4 of them have been forced upon him. Injury to Thiago Silva, suspension to Verratti and Meunier, plus Kylian Mbappe, who only starts on the bench and interestingly hasn't actually been warming up specifically while his teammates have. He's been in a puffer jacket, a snood and a beanie hat for most of the time, just watching his teammates. Maybe he is going to be that impact sub for 10 minutes if needed. In come Bernat, Kehrer, Paredes, Sarabia and Edinson Cavani, who's preferred to Icardi up front. Dortmund unchanged from the first leg. Torgan Hazard, who's on a yellow card in this game, has been preferred to Julian Brandt.
OK, more on Paris Saint-Germain versus Dortmund to come with Mike Sewell. We can see Liverpool's players are out on the pitch right now going through their last warm-up drills as Virgil van Dijk blasts one into the Kop, shooting at goal. Liverpool Atletico, of course, is our main commentary tonight, but we want you involved as well at home, and to do so, get in touch with us using the hashtag MatchDayLive on Twitter. That is the best way to get in touch with us on the show. Let us know where you're listening from, and let us know your thoughts on tonight's games. And we're looking for great players in their 30s after Josip Ilicic did the business tonight, the oldest player to ever score a Champions League hat-trick away from home. So players who've been great into their 30s, Andy Brassell, Richard Connolly, who springs to mind?
Well, I'm going to go for another left footer. I think I'm going to go for Paolo Maldini. I mean, bear in mind, not only is he one of the best, if not the best defender in UEFA Champions League history, but on top of that, scorer in the UEFA Champions League final in 2005. What, 4 weeks before his 37th birthday?
Not bad. Not bad.
Yeah.
For me, a relatively rare thing of a forward player who into his 30s had his most successful years. Teddy Sheringham at Manchester United. I mean, he won the treble in the year that he turned 33, and that impact off the bench in the final in 1999. I mean, he was one player who they always said the first yard was in his head, and he was quicker than most players that night, having come straight off the bench to make an impact. Won the treble in his early to mid 30s.
Mike, can you beat that?
I'm going with a bit of Brassell and a bit of Connolly here, because I'm going for a left footer that also played for Manchester United and who won the Champions League twice in his mid-20s and then in his mid-30s in different positions from what I remember. Ryan Giggs, of course, started out as an out-and-out winger and was very successful, and then Sir Alex Ferguson put him in midfield for the last few years of his career, where he had more good years and when it was thought that really his best years were behind him. So I'm going to go with Ryan Giggs.
He was a yoga guy, I think, wasn't he, Ryan Giggs?
I think that's what helped him
yeah.
in those latter stages.
Yoga and vegetarianism.
And of course, you subscribe to both camps now, Andy, and that's why you're so good and sharp these days. Let's read out some of the messages on Twitter. Miroslav Skriniar has gone for Messi and Ronaldo, of course, but also mentioned Ibrahimovic. Can't argue with that. Scored at the weekend as well for Milan. Pavel Nedved and Andrea Pirlo, who actually, Andy, almost... I'd want to say almost improved as a player into his 30s. There was a spell there at the back end of his career where he was just vital for club and country.
He's footballing Elvis. There are 3 ages of Pirlo. there are number 10 Pirlo, World Cup Pirlo, and Juventus Pirlo.
I was hoping you were going to correspond them to Elvis's dressing styles, like all leather.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you want to go that way, I mean, Juventus is the 68 comeback special.
There we go. That's what I was looking for. Young Flame on Twitter says, how about Ian Robin, Andres Iniesta? Loads of you, of course, saying Ronaldo, Messi, who are still doing the business into their 30s now. And how about this one from Jake? Thiago Motta was class throughout his whole career, and especially in the Champions League in his 30s. Of course, a vital player for Paris Saint-Germain at the back end of his time. Keep your messages coming in. Hashtag Matchday Live, and it does take us nicely onto Paris Saint-Germain, who face Borussia Dortmund tonight in the French capital. Let's remind you of what happened in the first leg.
Haaland with the nice layoff into Reina, the substitute who's just come on. Sancho sends it wide. Hakimi's ball in. What a chance! Haaland, it's in! Dortmund lead, and it's that man, Erling Haaland, who scores in the UEFA Champions League again. His first in the competition for Dortmund. Dortmund 1, Paris 0. Oh, and Mbappe has managed to get through here and crosses for Neymar, who levels the scores. A goal out of nothing for Paris. And their 2 superstars combine to make it 1-1 on the night. Neymar from point-blank range, teed up by Mbappe. Dortmund 1, Paris 1, and the effort is in! Oh, what a hit from Haaland! That is an absolute beauty to put Dortmund back in front. This game has come to life with a blockbuster from Haaland, making it Dortmund 2, Paris 1.
What a thumping goal it was to win it. What a performance, what a night for the teenager Erling Braut Haaland, who originally, pronounced Haaland, right, Andy? We asked a friend of ours, Scandinavia, and he said, it's Haaland, absolutely.
Yes.
And I think there were clips of even Haaland saying Haaland. And then I watched his clip that he recorded for the Bundesliga, you know, for international TV holders, his little thing where you walk up to the camera and he goes, Erling Haaland. So we do see players do this. So Mike, sure, whatever you want to go with, we'll go with tonight. What are you going with Haaland?
My understanding is it's Haaland.
Right. We're going with Haaland tonight. Look, he was sensational in the first leg. He's scoring a goal every 40-something minutes in the Champions League. Are you surprised by how quickly he's taken to not just this level of football, European League, but also in terms of the Bundesliga?
Yeah, well, he had great foundations, didn't he, with with Salzburg and what he did in the first half of the Champions League season, and I think he's just picked up from there. And yeah, I think it's astonishing that he's been able to adapt, go from one team to another, a much higher level of team, and produce what he's produced, and he's been absolutely outstanding. I don't think, in small part, a lot of it's been the help of Jadon Sancho. Having him play alongside him up front has been a key part. But he's been absolutely exceptional. 10 Champions League goals, 12 in 10 for Dortmund in total. He's approaching 40 goals for the entire season.
And Mike, really, it's about the difference he offers, isn't it? Because looking back to that first leg, I mean, something I noticed being at the stadium for the game, and something I've noticed watching him for Dortmund most weeks, he's still learning to play with this team. There's not the natural click between him and Sancho and Thorgan Hazard that there is between Sancho, Thorgan Hazard and Julian Brandt. So in a way, it's the fact that he's cut from very different cloth that's offering Dortmund something a bit extra, isn't it?
Yeah, and what's really, I think, is helping him as well is this sort of very simple, humble enthusiasm that he has for the game, and he's constantly just going out there to enjoy himself as much as he is to perform. But I mean, I know in that first leg he wasn't particularly, he was fairly quiet, wasn't he, for the first half of that game. But then when he had the opportunity, when the opportunity arose to score that first goal, he was there to pounce, and he showed with both goals how different he can be in terms of his finishes. That second goal was an absolute rocket, and then we've also seen him maraud from the halfway line to score goals this season. He offers them something very different, and to think he's only 19 years of age, I mean, obviously players have to stay fit, but goodness me, if he's able to stay fit and avoid injuries during his career, he is going to have an exceptional career. If you think he's already achieving what he's achieving now at the age of 19.
I mean, it was interesting actually reading some quotes from him recently, talking about the impact that Kylian Mbappe had at a similar age, of course, bursting onto the Champions League properly, I want to say 2 years ago, 3 years ago now. On Mbappe, Mike, I think you've noticed something interesting about him in the Paris Saint-Germain warm-up, because, of course, we knew that he had a sore throat in the run-up to this game.
Yeah, he missed 2 days of training because of a sore throat. The thought was, with him being named on the bench tonight, that clearly he wouldn't be feeling 100%. And I think that's been backed up by the fact that he went out there with all his teammates for the warm-up. But during the entire warm-up, he kept his puffer jacket on, he kept his snood on, he kept his hat on, and I didn't see him in all the situations I saw. I didn't see him running around a great deal, and he spent a lot of the time just watching on, which makes you wonder whether they can get maybe 10 or 15 minutes out of him, but that's about as much as they can get. And Thomas Tuchel won't necessarily put him on unless he has to. But that was quite telling, the fact that he didn't really get himself involved in the warm-up.
It seems to be, Andy, that his selection tonight in the 18 is a break class in case of emergency kind of scenario, that if they really need him, they'll throw him on and see if he can do anything.
Yeah, and I think Paris will look at the rest of their team, and you know, Mbappe's not to be underestimated. He's one of the greatest players in the world. I think there's a strong argument that he's the best player out in the world outside the Messi-Ronaldo axis. But there's huge quality in that squad, and they've got other players they can turn to as well. And you know, bearing in mind Edinson Cavani, for example, is someone who has recently, the club record goal scorer already, recently broken the 200 goal barrier for the club. They're not exactly scraping the barrel with the 11 that they've got out there.
Quality on the bench as well, of course, for Paris Saint-Germain. They do have Icardi and Draxler. I mean, for many teams, they'd be in the starting 11. Mike, thank you, by the way. We'll go back to Mike Sewell ahead of kickoff between Paris Saint-Germain and Dortmund tonight. Here's what Lucien Favre said, the Dortmund head coach. We'll have to have a very good game, and to play with intelligence and patience. We'll have to perform very well defensively, and we'll need to get forward too. He reckons they will probably have to score tonight. Coming up next on Matchday Live, full commentary of Liverpool Atletico, plus update on Paris Saint-Germain versus Dortmund.
Since it began in 1992, the UEFA Champions League has produced some of the greatest matches in the history of the game. Watch highlights of some of the best by heading to the dedicated history section on UEFA.com.
Anfield is full, the Kop is full as well. They're waving their flags down at that section of the stadium right now. The players will be in the tunnel very shortly indeed, but the atmosphere is ramping up, as you'd expect. The floodlights are on. Anfield looks tremendous. Let's get word from the tunnel now. Speaking in the last few moments, the Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp.
Look at a tie like this, where Atletico is playing the first game at home, wins at 1-0, and then I would say 95% of the teams in the world, if you have put them and say, okay, it will be tough. It will be tough for us tonight, no doubt about that. But there are a few teams which have still a chance. We are one of them. So, and that's exactly what we want to use.
Pouring down with rain currently on Merseyside. We can see almost in our minds in the future thundering tackles, sliding tackles, shots from distance, everything happening tonight. Andy Brassel and Richard Connolly alongside me, Rod Daly, of course Mike Sewell, giving us updates on Paris Saint-Germain versus Dortmund, which is behind closed doors due to concerns over the COVID-19 outbreak. But a full house in Liverpool tonight, and it is blustery. Tough conditions tonight, Richard.
Yeah, the rain started falling heavily about 3 minutes ago, Rob, and I mean that will just grease the playing surface in a way that I think only adds to the speed of the ball and the speed of the players. Two intense teams. I think that will just liven it up all the more. Of course, both sets of supporters are relishing it. The Liverpool fans will think, well, this is an intrinsic part of living in the northwest of England. The rain falls down, and the Atletico fans are sort of baring their chests and saying, you know, we're proud to be here and it's not going to put us off. So, if anything, I think it's just raised the atmosphere a little notch or two.
And Richard, it is one of those things that could possibly affect the game. I mean, you were talking quite evocatively there about the ball zipping around. I mean, Atletico can't win this tie really in the first 15 or 20 minutes, but if Liverpool get out the blocks like we know they can at Anfield, they could put this tie away in the first 25 minutes.
I think that the speed of the pitch will put an emphasis on precision and tempo, and if you are playing well and you're confident and your passes are accurate, it might give you an extra 1 or 2%, but if you're off by the same margin, all of a sudden you can look pretty slipshod. So it's an extra challenge for the players, and I mean this competition is all about winning those challenges, as we can hear the strains of You'll Never Walk Alone. Right?
Yeah, it's ramping up. European night on Merseyside, a Champions League round of 16 second leg. You know what's coming next. Liverpool versus Atletico in Europe's best club competition. If you are new to the Champions League, if you're new to the show, that happens before every Liverpool game. A tremendous rendition of You'll Never Walk Alone. But it is extra special on a European night. The players are now in the tunnel. To get in touch with us on Twitter, use the hashtag MatchDayLive. Let us know where you're listening from as well. Updates on Paris Saint-Germain versus Borussia Dortmund throughout the course of the evening. But Liverpool and Atletico are now making their way out of the tunnel to tremendous noise. The rain is falling on Merseyside. Liverpool in their all-red tracksuit tops with the gold badge on it. And behind Mo Salah at the back of the Liverpool line is the man who led them to a 6th European Cup last summer, Jurgen Klopp. The Atletico supporters in the Anfield Road end are making themselves heard, but the two teams now line up for the UEFA Champions League anthem. promise you that was the Champions League anthem underneath the roar and the voices of Liverpool, and the players now stand in front of each other. The Atletico players walking in front of the Liverpool players. They nod at each other. No handshakes tonight. All precautions surrounding the COVID-19 outbreak. We are about to kick off. The two teams take to their halves at the Anfield pitch. They're about to kick off at Paris Saint-Germain against Dortmund, behind closed doors, of course, tonight, Mike Stewell, but so much at stake for both clubs.
Indeed, almost synchronised with what's happening at Anfield, because they've just taken to their halves of the field as well, and we have a very well-poised match here between Paris Saint-Germain and Borussia Dortmund. Just the one goal in it, Dortmund winning 2-1 in the first leg in Germany 3 weeks ago. Can Paris Saint-Germain, for the first time in 4 years, get through the round of 16 and make it to the quarter-finals and try and convince everybody that they are one of those teams who are capable of winning the UEFA Champions League? Of course, as you mentioned, Rob, it's behind closed doors, but you can in the distance hear several thousand Paris Saint-Germain fans who've made their way to outside the stadium and who are lending their support, and they've actually been shown on the big screens inside the stadium here, probably as a way to try and boost the Paris players in this effort to come back from 2-1 down.
Well, that's incredible, Mike. Thank you very much. There will be some atmosphere in Paris tonight. Great moment, by the way, out of the tunnel there, where Diego Simeone, the Atletico head coach, and Jurgen Klopp, the Liverpool manager, bumped elbows, as is the tradition these days. And a smile on both their faces, and they'll both be grimacing and growling on the touchline very shortly. Here's what's happening tonight on Matchday Live.
Tonight with the red trim. We know that Liverpool's hold on the Premier League trophy is almost watertight. The title is on the line here tonight for this second leg. Diego Simeone's Atletico Madrid leading by 1-0. And the whistles you can hear from the home supporters, because the visitors from the Spanish capital are going to get this second leg underway any moment now. It is Liverpool's 400th match in all of the...
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Unfortunately, due to rights restrictions, we're not able to bring you the current sports commentary on this platform. You may be able to listen on an alternative platform. For further information and terms of use, go to bbc.co.uk/5 Live.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Unfortunately, due to rights restrictions, we're not able to bring you the current sports commentary on this platform. You may be able to listen on an alternative platform. For further information and terms of use, go to bbc.co.uk/5 Live.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Unfortunately, due to rights restrictions, we're not able to bring you the current sports commentary on this platform. You may be able to listen on an alternative platform. For further information and terms of use, go to bbc.co.uk/5 Live.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Unfortunately, due to rights restrictions,
This is BBC Radio
commentary on this platform. You may be able to listen on an alternative platform. For further information and terms of use, go to bbc.co.uk/5 Live.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Unfortunately, due to rights restrictions, we're not able to bring you the current sports commentary on this platform. You may be able to listen on an alternative platform. For further information and terms of use, go to bbc.co.uk/5 Live.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Unfortunately, due to rights restrictions, we're not able to bring you the current sports commentary on this platform. You may be able to listen on an alternative platform. For further information and terms of use, go to bbc.co.uk/5 Live.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Unfortunately, due to rights restrictions, we're not able to bring you the current sports commentary on this platform. You may be able to listen on an alternative platform. For further information and terms of use, go to bbc.co.uk/5live.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Unfortunately, due to rights restrictions, we're not able to bring you the current sports commentary on this platform. You may be able to listen on an alternative platform. For further information and terms of use, go to bbc.co.uk/5live.
This
Teenagers. And I kind of imagine Simeone loving it at Anfield. This is his first time at this famous ground in the northwest of England. 0-0 on the night, 4 minutes played. Here's Alexander-Arnold infield for Liverpool. Van Dijk now, and this is happening 15 metres or so inside the Atleti half, and they're back in their defensive formation already in the black strip with the red numbers, Atletico Madrid. Here's Alexander-Arnold, white boots, crosses, header flicked on, and the save by Oblak, fairly comfortable, but it was Wijnaldum stealing into an attacking position.
That's right, and he's done that to such great effect in Champions League knockout matches in the last couple of seasons. The ball's good. Alexander-Arnold sees it really early, but Oblak, as always, getting himself in position impeccably early.
Lots of pace on the ball, didn't need much in the way of effort on the header, a guiding header from the Dutchman. Wijnaldum scored twice on this ground in the last European knockout match. That was the comeback against Barcelona, the 4-0 game. Atleti trying to respond with Correa trying to dribble his way through, but Liverpool got men around him. Robertson overruns it as they try to escape down the near side, and it will be a throw-in. Kieran Trippier will have pretty strong memories of his last outing against Liverpool in the Champions League final for Tottenham Hotspur.
He will do, and how full of twists football is, with his old team going out last night and him having the opportunity to get back there, he'll hope, in Istanbul at the end of this season.
Trippier with a touch on this near side, the right for Atletico Madrid, forward by Savic up towards Diego Costa, who's coming back from an offside position. 1-0 to Atletico on aggregate. No goals on the night. Liverpool know they have to score. Here's Oxlade-Chamberlain, little feint and an acceleration down the far side, the right. Now he's got his man for pace, crosses low. It was Renan Lodi, pretty narrow on the cover, who got it away. And Liverpool collect on the halfway line. Neat touch from Gomez under some pressure from the intimidating figure of Diego Costa. Wearing white boots tonight, Costa, if he didn't stand out enough already in the dark beard. Here's Salah now, right-hand side, low ball in, Firmino's touch escaped him, and it's Oblak all in yellow, who collects. 0-0, 6.5 minutes, but there's quite a pleasing tempo to proceedings already, as you would have expected, I guess.
Yeah, there is, and a real buzz around Anfield as well. It's looking like being one of those European nights at Anfield, isn't it, Richard?
Certainly is. Wijnaldum with a little header forward from Oblak's clearance. Lifted forward by Atleti towards Costa. Van Dijk won an aerial battle. Thomas Partey collects and goes backwards. Atleti have it at the back, so we'll just nip over to Paris and get the latest on Paris Dortmund with Mike Saul.
7 minutes played here, fairly unspectacular on the pitch. Paris have enjoyed the majority of the possession, but off it, the fireworks have been going off above the Parc des Princes. The Paris Saint-Germain fans outside, a few thousand of them, have been making themselves heard, their voices carrying over the roof of the stadium, and you can hear them relatively clearly, even though it's echoing quite a lot. But the fireworks have been going off as well in support of their team, who've made the better start, albeit without having threatened the Dortmund goal. It's Paris 0, Borussia Dortmund 0.
So no goals in either game tonight so far on UEFA Champions League Match Day Live. Atletico Madrid at Anfield have themselves a free kick just inside the Liverpool half, nudging the back of Joao Felix, and it's going to be taken over on the far side of the field by Koke by the looks of things. Felipe is forward, Diego Costa of course, Joao Felix peeling off round the back. Thomas Partey takes, though it's a fake, it comes in second time towards Kieran Trippier round the back, and he was stretching to try and play a volleyed cross, couldn't hook it back into play. There was the initial spin by Joao Felix. He was a decoy, Andy, wasn't he? That was a plan.
He was, and with active and inactive, that is why it's so difficult for defenders to play an offside, even if you can get the line right these days. The run from Trippier was great, just couldn't really get the contact he wanted on the ball to hook it back into the 6-yard area.
I tell you what, that very nearly came off.
It did.
Joao Felix, who was initially offside, was then ready and alone had Trippier hooked it back into the penalty box. So it was maybe half a metre away from coming off, that one. 0-0 on the night, but the first signs of the expert planning that we know that both these sides will have had from their coaches. Atleti seeking out Joao Felix down the near side, the right. Gomez came across on the cover, and Van Dijk was glad that he did. And now Gomez finds Van Dijk with the pass across the field, and Liverpool move it now down the far side, the right. Oxlade-Chamberlain crossing the halfway line. Salah now on the far touchline. Firmino making his way forward. Salah rather overran it, and Renan Lodi and Thomas Partey got touches to it, and they boot it clear. Oxlade-Chamberlain battling over on the far side. Liverpool had 4 around the ball, and they did win it. Henderson switching the play to Robertson on this near side, but Trippier had anticipated his pass to Mane. Mane comes back to rob it from Correa, and now Mane is running with that dip of the shoulder. He's found Mo Salah on the edge of the penalty area, shooting space here, and he curled one over the top. Mo Salah, the kind of range from which we've seen him score so often.
He'll be a little bit disappointed with that he couldn't keep it down, but already we're seeing that Mane is really the engine behind so much of what Liverpool are doing. The way he dropped back deep into midfield to rob Correa, who was kind of dawdling on the ball, really. And that's the sort of intensity that Liverpool need to bring in this first 20 minutes, half an hour.
Mane, along with Firmino, playing in the UEFA Champions League for the 3rd time this season. The pair of them have never not reached the final. That's the impact that they've made on this famous competition.
That's quite a stat.
Yeah, I mean, if I'd be shouting it from the rooftops if I was either of those two, that's for sure. But that run, of course, might end tonight. If it stays this way, it will do, although we are in an early stage of proceedings. The 11th minute, 0-0 on the night, so Atleti still lead by 1-0. But here's Oxlade-Chamberlain in space, crosses towards Wijnaldum again, who was in the centre-forwards position. Here's Henderson from range, pulling his shot wide of goal as the rain/sleet again angles heavily and quite ferociously down into the players.
Yes, it's absolutely driving down at the moment. But I think what will concern Diego Simeone more at the moment, those last couple of attacks from Liverpool, Atletico defending very deep, which we're used to. But when the ball's headed out, there are always a couple of Liverpool players free, unmolested on the edge of the penalty area. You won't want to give them too many shooting opportunities around there.
He has restarted. Liverpool have it at the back with Gomez and Alexander-Arnold just firing little passes between them. And back it goes to Adrian, who's not had too many touches of the ball just yet. Reminder that Liverpool's second-choice goalkeeper here tonight, in again for the injured Alisson. And he's playing in knockout football in the UEFA Champions League for the first time this evening. So it's a huge night for him in his career. Atletico unbeaten in 6 games in all competitions, and they've scored in each of those matches. Last time they failed to score was against Real Madrid, a narrow defeat in early February. Liverpool have lost 3 of their last 5 games in all competitions, but expecting, I'm sure, the vast majority inside Anfield, for this to be another one of those European nights, Andy.
But yeah, they certainly will be, and that man Jordan Henderson is someone who they will expect to play a huge part in that. But you talked about the last time Atletico had failed to score, being in that Madrid derby. That was an incredibly low ebb for them, and that wasn't a long time ago. Now, people wondered where Atletico would go next. And against all the odds, well, they love to be the underdog. Even if they've sort of surpassed that, they're one of the elite European clubs now in many ways. They do thrive on that underdog tag, and really that first leg win against Liverpool sort of given a bit of energy to their season that was flagging badly.
The rain that's coming down really is of the wintry variety, although we are 11 days into spring now. Liverpool have the ball at the back with Gomez into Wijnaldum. Bit of pressure on the ball from the Atletico skipper Koke. Back it goes to Gomez again. To Robertson on the left-hand side. No obvious way forward, so he goes back to goalkeeper Adrian, who is all in lime green colours this evening. Gomez is assessing the angles in front of him. Costa is blocking the obvious forward pass. Liverpool lift it long down the right-hand side, where it's collected by Oxlade-Chamberlain. He's spent a lot of time down the right-hand side for Liverpool in the early stages. Infield to Salah, little dink forward towards Firmino. Felipe's header half away. Robertson collects for Liverpool. Here's Mane on the edge, left-footed cross beyond Firmino in the centre. The headed clearance wasn't convincing though. Here's Oxlade-Chamberlain, a good save from Oblak. He really drilled that one in, Oxlade-Chamberlain, and it was a fine save. It came through players as well, and on the greasy surface too. But the first excellent save of the night.
Absolutely, and that's what makes Oblak so good. It wasn't just the fact that he got down, saw the shot and pushed it away. It's that he pushed it away from the on-rushing Liverpool players who could have tapped it in at a second chance as well.
Oxlade-Chamberlain with 3 goals in this competition this season. He's in the side tonight when Fabinho could have retained his place, as Gary Gillespie was telling us prior to kick-off. But he's in the side because he's got a goal in him, and he nearly proved that a few seconds ago. Atletico back in their defensive lines and back inside their own third of the field here. Liverpool wide with Alexander-Arnold. Clearing header by Savic. Thomas Partey collects but has swiftly lost it. Forward by Liverpool again to Oxlade-Chamberlain. Nice triangle out wide to Salah, trying to dribble between defenders, but Saul Niguez got in there, and Renan Lodi thumps it away, but thumps it to nobody in particular. Here's Van Dijk. The pressure starting to build, although Atletico, you'd think, are masters of mopping it up. Van Dijk spreads the play to the right. Oxlade-Chamberlain in a deep position now, collects. Low ball wide to Alexander-Arnold. Little touch out of his feet, but Saul Niguez knew where that was going and clears it off the younger man for an Atleti throw, and that was very calmly done.
Absolutely, but we are getting that feeling already, aren't we, Richard, that Atleti are getting hemmed in by that traditional early doors at Anfield Liverpool press. And they just want to keep them pinned down now.
Yeah, it's not so much the Liverpool possession, although it's partly that. It's the way that they're winning the ball back so quickly, so far up the field. And there's no obvious escape route for Atleti. They've not been able to find Diego Costa or Joao Felix, for that matter, with their outballs so far. And, well, they've survived for 16 minutes. Albeit having created the game's first chance, and a good opening it was for Diego Costa inside 15 seconds at Anfield after a terrific turn by Joao Felix, which just gave you an underlining of how dangerous he might be. Liverpool have had 2/3 of the ball so far.
Already, I think, with that early chance in the first 20 seconds, Richard, there'll be Atleti fans all around the world listening to this thinking, well, that's more chances than we had in Turin last year.
Well, Liverpool have not been unbreachable over the last few games, as their results will tell you. From Atleti's free kick here, they've got themselves a corner. Correa ran in behind. He was close to being offside. Van Dijk couldn't take a chance and had to put it behind. So the corner will be taken from the left-hand side by Koke. Costa perhaps sensing an opportunity. He's right on the penalty spot. Saul, Felipe and Joao Felix are all on the goal line. It's in near post and it's flicked wide by Felipe, and he thought for a moment he'd flicked it in, but he flicked it past the near post and not inside it, and it remains 0-0.
Let's go to Paris. Watching Paris Saint-Germain Dortmund is Mike Sewell.
Still Paris 0, Dortmund 0. No chances of note so far, but a yellow card has just been given to Erling Braut Haaland, who hasn't really been involved at all and made a mistake when he got the ball outside the edge of the penalty area, didn't control it, and in his frustration ran back and fouled Leandro Paredes. So a yellow card for Haaland. Paris have enjoyed 2/3 of the possession so far and looked the more threatening, but of course Dortmund can be dangerous on the counter like they might do now here. Here's Hakimi crossing in, Haaland coming in late, unable to meet it, but the ball has gone right through to the left side of the area. Clip back in, first time from Sancho, but he drives it wide and it remains 0-0.
That was a good chance for Borussia Dortmund. We're still waiting for the first goal of the night. If you want to get in touch with us, use the hashtag MatchDayLive and we'll read out your messages. Let us know where you're listening from on Twitter.
Oggi al lavoro con Mara c'è Sergio, elettricista. Sergio, accendi le luci. Back on the front foot after a good spell for Atletico Madrid, and we'll reflect on that chance from a corner in a little more detail now, because Liverpool have a throw on the halfway line. Andy Brassel for Felipe. That was a terrific chance, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was a great delivery from Koke, as we're used to. He did well to win the header in the first place, to get himself in the spot.
Oggi al lavoro con Mara c'è Sergio, elettricista.
Sergio, accendi le luci che ci sono i buoni veicoli commerciali Opel.
Flick it in because it did just go south of that near post. But already we're just seeing a few little glimmers from Atletico, a few more bits of inclination to keep the ball actually in that final third, but still defending is the first idea. I mean, I think we saw it before, the minute where the attack broke down, the minute that the second, in fact, that Joao Felix lost the ball, Kieran Trippier dropped 15 metres straight away. That's their first thought, defending.
Mane has won a corner for Liverpool here down the left-hand side. Typical effort from the Senegalese player. And Robertson takes left-footed near post. It was Firmino coming to flick it on. Half an appeal for handball from those behind that goal in the Anfield Road end. Nothing doing, at least initially, from the Dutch refereeing team, led by Danny Makeley. Diagonal ball from Alexander-Arnold out to Salah, who appeared to be caught. The cross comes in second time round, though, and Van Dijk was still in there from the corner, and he got a little head to it. I think it's gone behind for another Liverpool corner. Van Dijk is making the point still about the previous handball claim. Wind and rain driving in at Anfield. 0-0, 20 minutes on the watch now. Another Liverpool corner from the left. Robertson takes the away swinger. Oh, Mane was rising, it almost dropped for Van Dijk, who's gone down on the edge of the goal area as if he was clipped. Now Joao Felix has gone down after the initial clearance, and the Atletico players are surrounding Danny Makeley as if they felt that there was a hard challenge on the young Portuguese player, as Liverpool attempted to win it back. Andy, what did you make of all that?
Yeah, it really was close to Van Dijk. I don't think he saw the chance until quite late, and that gave Savic the opportunity. After it sort of flicked on from Mane and then hit the back of the head from Lodi. It would have been really fortunate if it had fallen for Van Dijk, but there was the opportunity for Savic to clip it away, and the referee just having a little word with Alexander-Arnold for curtailing that potential Atletico break.
Well, there's a VAR review in progress for a potential penalty, although Danny Makeley has now moved himself away from the penalty area, so the check is complete and a penalty has not been awarded. It was quite a high boot from Alexander-Arnold in the foul on Joao Felix, but it was a high bouncing ball, that's why the foot was high.
Well, I think he was done by a really excellent first touch as well from the young Portuguese.
He started actually very sharply, Joao Felix. A lot of people, I was reading during the week, felt that his game against Sevilla at the weekend was his best in Atletico Madrid colours.
I would say that's fair. Excellent, beautifully taken goal to briefly put them 2-1 up. But it's interesting, if you look at him and some other players here, there are a lot of Atletico players with something to prove.
Here is Joao Felix, he was onside. No, he wasn't, the flag went up, of course, after the player collected the ball, as we have learnt to expect. And now the ball's been kicked away by Diego Costa, and the referee is taking stern charge here, Danny McAlee, and he's waving the finger at Diego Costa, saying, do that again, you'll be in trouble. Liverpool will have the free kick for offside, Rob.
Let's go to the French capital where Dortmund were nearly in again, Mike Sewell.
We're almost at the midway point of the first half, still 0-0, but a good ball down the left, setting Dortmund away, and then Haaland broke into the middle. The square pass didn't quite reach him as Kimpembe slid in to push the ball away. Not a great deal to report so far. Dortmund beginning to get a bit of a foothold in the game after Paris made a good start. Still goalless.
Thank you very much, Mike. To get in touch with us, hashtag #MatchDayLive on Twitter. Randall Smith on the road in southern Kansas, sending us a picture of him on his way to Wayne Robinson. Says, listening in Ohio, thank you for letting us hear. You'll never walk alone, brought a tear to my eye. And Samuel saying, this one for you, Richard, great commentary. Just that. That's nice, isn't it?
Sam, did you say?
Samuel Ayavor.
Well, thank you.
Listeners all over the world tonight on UEFA.com, the Champions League app.
I dedicate this commentary to you, sir.
And you can listen as well across North America on Sirius XM FC. Still waiting for the first goal of the night. But good start to Liverpool Atletico.
Yeah, Mike mentioned in the game in Paris that not a great deal has happened. I think the reverse is true at Anfield. There's been a lot going on. A really busy opening quarter, an enthralling start to this game. Remains 0-0, but chances and some sharp set pieces, I think, from Atletico Madrid. Some real hustle from Liverpool. A miscontrol there by Alexander-Arnold, who did just enough to win it back for his team, and Gomez will have it again at the back. João Felix just buzzing around as if he's starting to find the confidence that maybe he has lacked since the big money move from Benfica last summer. 2 goals in his last 3 games. Diego Costa, of course, is bristling with menace, as always. Player who scored in a winning away performance on this ground for Chelsea back in the day. Here's Firmino inside the box, trying to turn. Koke was right by him and got the ball to Costa, and he couldn't quite get the ball to João Felix on the halfway line. Liverpool have it back again. Here's Alexander-Arnold, infield to Henderson. Oxlade-Chamberlain sweeps it back to Gomez, forward to Wijnaldum, but he's only sort of level with the edge of the centre circle, and nothing too much threatening on in front of him for the moment. Here's Oxlade-Chamberlain, wide to his right to to Alexander-Arnold, and now Salah on the touchline. Salah trying to get away from Lodi, will settle for the corner. Brazilian just got a toe to it, and the ball rolls off down the bank into the advertisement hoardings behind the goal to our left-hand side.
If we think of all the ways in which Atletico Madrid have to defend like their old selves, I think set pieces is the primary one among those. They've been a bit slack from these in La Liga this season, so an opportunity for Liverpool, especially with some big targets to aim for.
Double Dutch at the back post with Wijnaldum and Van Dijk, one trying to make room for the other. Van Dijk trying to get a free run here, trying to time it. Oh, he did get away from his man, but it didn't quite clear Felipe from Alexander-Arnold, and the clearing header from the Brazilian. Back to Alexander-Arnold, in by Oxlade-Chamberlain. Van Dijk is there at the back post, nods it across and deep. And Atleti through Diego Costa will deal with it, not before it went behind for another corner. Maybe Van Dijk put a little too much on the header back across goal. Quick corner taken though. Alexander-Arnold with the ball in, that's too deep for Van Dijk. And out for a throw in near side, 0-0, Rob.
Massive chance for Paris Saint-Germain, 25 minutes in, Mike Sewell.
So close to bringing the tie level. Edinson Cavani was put through by Angel Di Maria. He's in now on the edge of the penalty area as he goes down. Referee Anthony Taylor has pulled it back for a free kick to Paris, deeper inside the half. But what a through ball from Di Maria. Cavani in on his own in the area. Out came Berkey, who managed to touch the ball with an outstretched right boot to divert it wide of the far post when it looked to be heading into the far corner. It remains 0-0 on the night, 2-1 to Dortmund on aggregate.
And those fireworks you can hear in the background of the Paris Saint-Germain supporters outside the stadium currently, as that game's behind closed doors. Liverpool on the counter, Richard.
With Mo Salah on the right-hand side. Firmino running in front of him, got a little nudge as he made his run towards the ball, made controlling it first time more awkward, but the referee has played the advantage, and Liverpool have kept possession. Switching it to the near side, the left for Robertson, and he will go backwards, and the momentum of the counter-attack has been stalled. It was stalled mostly by that bit of grappling by Felipe. Didn't win the ball, but did a good job for his team. Now Salah, though, has it back and got away from one, couldn't find Firmino with the pass. Joao Felix couldn't beat Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, who came back to nick the ball from him. And Liverpool again get the ball back swiftly. Mane down the left, Simeone pointing and, well, he's effectively kicking every ball down there, as always. Firmino for Wijnaldum, booted clear by Savic. That really was a boot rather than a pass. Gomez will get it back inside his own half just. Here's Salah now for Liverpool, 0-0. Not far off, half an hour played, but it's one of those matches here when you really feel like the minutes are passing like seconds. It's going so quickly. Mane unable to keep the ball in on this near touchline. Good work from Correa. The two have a little mini hug. And it'll be Atletico ball on the near touchline. Throw in to the away side. Content, I'm sure, just to take a few seconds off the clock and just calm proceedings, because Liverpool have built up some momentum in this match so far, albeit Atletico have had their moments. One right at the start from kick-off, where they passed their way through, and a couple from set pieces. Oblak here will be out to the edge of his box to collect a through ball. Does so without problem. Still Atleti lead by 1-0 on aggregate, Rob.
We've had the first goal of the night in the French capital. Your commentator, Mike Sewell.
Di Maria with the corner this time. It's really good corner! Headed in by Neymar! Stooping ahead of his marker to put Paris in front on the night and draw them level in the tie. They now have the advantage due to Neymar's away goal. Now he's scored at home. He celebrates with the substitutes, including Mbappe. It's Paris 1, Dortmund 0, 2-2 on aggregate.
Well, let's go back to Mike Sewell watching Paris Saint-Germain versus Borussia Dortmund. And Mike, a massive moment for Neymar, of course.
And it's quite rarely a diving header from Neymar as well, who was unmarked as the corner came in. It dropped to him no more than about 5 metres from goal, right in the heart of the Dortmund penalty area, and he just stooped to head it beyond Roman Bürki. It was a really well delivered corner by Angel Di Maria, but Paris have enjoyed the majority of the possession, and then he went across to celebrate with all the substitutes. Mbappe came out of his seat, and Paris now, as I mentioned there, have the advantage overall, and the fireworks are going off again. 2-2 on aggregate.
Thank you, Mike. So they're 30 minutes into the game there, 30 minutes into the game at Anfield. They're both in essentially in sync right now, these two matches, almost to the second, as Liverpool go forward here. Richard Connolly.
Driven long ball downfield by Henderson towards Mane. The headed clearance almost was collected by Firmino, but the sufficient pressure on the ball from the home team to win it back. Alexander-Arnold then loses it to Thomas Partey. The Reds converge around Joao Felix, and he's gone down after a foul. It's an Atletico free kick, and the referee wasn't happy with Henderson's challenge. One or two of the Atleti players in their black shirts weren't happy with the challenge either. Henderson did come through the back of Joao Felix quite forcefully there, and the referee has rightly, I think, spotted a foul.
And again, it's a brilliant touch by Joao Felix. I think we can see why Liverpool are so frustrated. Those last two fouls on Joao Felix, they've not thought the challenges were that bad. Obviously, Atletico have vehemently disagreed, but it's all been made by really the vision of Joao Felix.
Yeah, it's one of those nights when your first touch has to be spot on, and his has been.
But when you're surrounded by two or three, and that's what he can do.
Joao Felix and Diego Costa, the two forward players for Atletico Madrid tonight. Morata on the bench. Well won here by Correa down the right-hand side, sliding in though. He's got support from Trippier, but he was just beaten to it by Robertson, who clears for Liverpool, but clears to Felipe, and the Atletico defence is on the halfway line. For once, Correa trying to dink in a ball for Joao Felix, couldn't quite angle it through. That was half a chance for Atleti, because the Liverpool defence was pushing up. Here's Lodi on the left-hand side. Salah's back defending by his own penalty area. He's done a really good job as well. Reverse pass up the line for Oxlade-Chamberlain. Firmino was a little sluggish towards the ball though, and Atleti have got it back. Joao Felix was calling for it down the left. Instead, the cross goes in towards the centre, and Van Dijk has to put their header behind for an Atletico corner. And it's Simeone who is happy with his side's efforts there. Atletico pressing Liverpool to good effect.
He really, really wanted that return ball from Lodi, didn't he, Joao Felix? Furious when he didn't get it. But it's a great bit of play by the Brazilian left-back. Early cross in and Van Dijk had to be alert.
Well, Simeone jumping up and down the touchline, applauding above his head, pleased that his team have got out of their own penalty area for a spell. More than that, they're threatening. 12 minutes to half-time. Corner into the near post area again, not quite enough height this time. But it's back again with Koke on the far side. On the left, the reverse ball to Saul now. Can he keep it in by the goal line? Wijnaldum making a couple of challenges. Koke then joining in. Robertson under pressure. Koke still got it. Back to Saul. Digs it in. Spin turn in there towards Diego Costa. And it won't quite run for Atleti, but they weren't far away again from creating a really good chance. Liverpool harrying and pushing and have forced it back into Atleti's half now. But the away side's best spell of the match, you would argue, so far. Real pressure on the home side's defence for the first time. Sustained pressure. And Atleti battling to maintain possession here, which they've done really nicely. Koke and Saul combining. Thomas Partey has it on the halfway line. And now Koke turning and trying to find Diego Costa. Not quite able to do so. And it's cleared by Alexander-Arnold. The big diagonal. Salah brings it down with that silky touch. Then he knocks over Lodi, and he's collected the ball. Salah to the edge of the box. Oh, the pass to Mane! Straight at Oblak. And it bounced off the keeper, but he pounces on it. And Liverpool created that chance from absolutely nothing. Just the persistence of Salah.
Yeah, brilliant play by Mo Salah to get the ball from Lodi. Tremendous ball. Mane just held his run a little bit, just on the edge of the penalty area. Not quite the connection he wanted, even if there was a bit of excitement from the crowd as Oblak didn't catch it cleanly first time.
Terrific spot from Salah, and he played the square ball with the outside of his left foot. Really skillfully done. There was deception in there as well as the angle of the pass.
But we're seeing a really athletic contest between these two teams, aren't we? The level of fitness, the way they're getting about the pitch is absolutely tremendous.
Can that be sustained for 90 minutes, even 120 minutes?
Let's hope so.
And then it'd be a heck of an evening if they do continue. And you think if they do continue at this tempo, then the ball has to find its way into one goal or other before too long. I bet he might hope not, because a 0-0 draw will take them through. Salah there was trying to bring down one of those high passes with another silky touch, but it ran off his laces this time. And behind for an Atletico Madrid goal kick. And it's the Atletico fans behind the goal to our left-hand side who are swirling their scarves above their heads, enjoying the fact that for the time being, they are still the team heading to the quarter-finals. Liverpool have to score, and they haven't yet, though Correa has fouled Mane near halfway. Mane wanted to get on with proceedings, but the ball was rolling. And so Liverpool take the free kick for the second time. Atletico Madrid back in the 4-4-2 shape again. And Liverpool have it just inside their opponent's half. Robertson on the near side with the red heels to his black boots. Van Dijk moves it back to Alexander-Arnold on the right-hand side. Lovely pass forward. Oxlade-Chamberlain shot blocked. It rebounds to Salah. Early cross in. Oh, chance, and pushed away by Oblak. Firmino was the nearest Liverpool player to that one. It was a glorious ball in from the right-hand side again from Alexander-Arnold. Liverpool's combinations down that side, troublesome. Salah with the ball in, Partey with the hack at it. Is that going to go behind for a corner? It will do. 9 minutes to half-time. Oblak's been the busier goalkeeper.
Yeah, everything's really coming from the right, as you say now, Richard. Not the cleanest connection from Firmino. He's really stretching for that. It's a great reflex save, though.
Did Firmino get anything on it at all, do you think? Maybe a little touch?
With the left foot, I think.
A little feather on it. Another save from Oblak. Still the rain driving down at Anfield. Van Dijk, Wijnaldum, this time they're around the goalkeeper. Henderson's in there as well. He's whispered something in Wijnaldum's ear. I mean, there's a pile of players, about 10 players in front of the goalkeeper here. Trippier and Wijnaldum have shoved one another back and forth. The players are in such close proximity they might as well have shaken hands at the start of the match, if I'm honest. But it's very busy for Oblak in the goal area. Mane at the near post, Firmino slightly further over. There's a huge crowd of players in there. Difficult for Oblak, he's still got a punch to the ball. It went up rather than out. Savic with a header away, and then hooked clear by Felipe, I think, for Atletico on the far side. And they might get the chance to break with Trippier for Correa. Henderson came across, he knew he had to take something, and he took the man. And I think this might be a yellow card for Henderson, who had a warning earlier in the piece for a foul on Joao Felix. And there's a bit more shoving between Savic and Van Dijk. Van Dijk, the Dutchman, maybe feels that he can speak to the referee in their native tongue. It remains 0-0 anyway, Rob. When we resume, Atletico will have a free kick on halfway.
Let's go to Paris Saint-Germain 1, Dortmund 0. Mike, how Dortmund responded, because now they have to score.
They've responded very well in the last few minutes. They've had a couple of good chances, the best of which just now to Jadon Sancho, who cut in from the left-hand side. Nice return ball into him from Guerrero. His shot, though, with the angle quite acute, was easily covered by Keylor Navas. Dortmund do begin to look threatening on the counter, but Paris have dominated the play.
Here's Mo Salah for Liverpool. He's inside the penalty area, just forced away from goal by Savic, and Liverpool will get a corner. It looked for a moment as if the ball in behind might get Salah in on Oblak's goal. Not quite to be. Alexander-Arnold will take the corner, and Liverpool will push forward once again. You'll gather from that nothing came of Atletico's free kick on the halfway line, not even the yellow card that I ventured might be shown to Henderson. That didn't materialise. Alexander-Arnold then from the right, the away swinging corner with the right boot. High towards Van Dijk, excellent headed clearance by Felipe. Robertson struck the shot against his own man. It spins to Henderson, flicks it in, up in the air by the defender. Oblak comes, gets a big fist on the ball. The fans behind the goal appreciated that. It's not easy for Oblak at the moment at all. So many players around him from those corner kicks.
Two super headers from Felipe in the middle of that.
Yeah, absolutely terrific defending. Alexander-Arnold time to deliver another cross, and this time it was Savic with an excellent header. Van Dijk was right behind him waiting, and you can almost hear the anticipation from Anfield as that cross was delivered by Alexander-Arnold. He's such a good crosser of the ball, but then it would appear that the Atletico centre-backs are such good headers of it away. Here's Alexander-Arnold again. He's crossing these balls from deep positions. Salah now wide on the right, flicks one in towards Firmino, tried to roll his man but rolled in illegally. Felipe it was, free kick Atletico Madrid.
It's a bit of turbocharged David Beckham, those deliveries from the right-hand side, aren't they? As you say, the speed with which he gets them in, nice and early, no need to beat the man at all, whereas Andy Robertson often goes on the outside. Alexander-Arnold just wants to get the ball in at every possible opportunity.
Alexander-Arnold, Oxlade-Chamberlain and Salah are working as a triangle on that right-hand side for Liverpool. Salah is often staying right on the touchline with Oxlade-Chamberlain running in field of him, and that's leaving space behind for Alexander-Arnold to deliver those crosses. Firmino coming deep to collect here. Liverpool on the front foot, 5 minutes from half-time, 0-0. Salah now wide right to Firmino down by the goal line. He's towed the ball back towards Alexander-Arnold, but Joao Felix was wise to it and cleared. Alexander-Arnold made a slide challenge on Joao Felix, got a large chunk of the ball, but then seemed to say something to the young Portuguese player as well. It was a stiff challenge. He got ball first, but it was one of those tackles by the touchline where the defender knows that they will discomfort the player on the ball at the same time.
If there's one thing we know about Joao Felix, he's had to put up with rough treatment ever since he's been playing first-team football. I mean, after you've been kicked by Pepe, there is no harder person to be kicked by, and he wasn't intimidated by that.
Yeah, he didn't stay down for long after the challenge from Alexander-Arnold. It was a challenge physically and mentally, I think. Mane from the long ball has picked it up for Liverpool, tried to roll it back for Firmino, rolled it behind him, and then Trippier's given it away. Mane picked his pocket. Here's Oxlade-Chamberlain. He was looking to curl it, didn't get the strike, and rolled it wide, and it remains 0-0. But you can You can hear from the atmosphere, the tempo of the game really is energising everybody watching. 0-0.
Let's go to Mike Shaw. Mike.
Paris almost let in there by a mistake by Łukasz Piszczek, the captain of Dortmund. Gave the ball away just outside his own penalty area, but it remains Paris 1, Dortmund 0. 28th minute diving header by Neymar from a Di Maria corner has put Paris in control of this tie. At the moment, they would go through on away goals. They've been the better team, have dominated the possession of the ball, but Dortmund have threatened once or twice on the counter-attack. Remains 1-0 on the night, 2-2 on aggregate.
You're listening to Matchday Live with me, Rod Jady. Mike Shaw watching Paris versus Dortmund. Andy Brassel and Richard Connolly, the commentary team for Liverpool Atletico. Goalless on the night still.
2.5 minutes to half-time. Liverpool on the front foot once again. Atleti back in their defensive shape, as Gary Gillespie was saying beforehand. This looked kind of almost like the 6 men in the line at the back for Atleti. Liverpool down the right with Oxlade-Chamberlain getting the ball in. Oh, Wijnaldum! Wijnaldum with the header into the turf that zipped past All Black and into the corner. And with 2 minutes to half-time, Anfield celebrates. The tie is level. Liverpool 1, Atletico Madrid 0.
And it was always going to come from down that side. The ball in was absolutely perfect, but whereas most of the balls have come in from deep, this time the run was further down the right-hand side. It was the combination between two of the players you mentioned before, Salah, and this time Oxlade-Chamberlain pulling it back from the byline towards the penalty spot. And that's where they couldn't pick up Wijnaldum. He found the space right in the corner, in the one place that even Oblak couldn't get it.
Well, Wijnaldum, you recall, scored twice in the last knockout tie on this ground against Barcelona. And at this stage of the competition, when it really matters, up he pops once again. Liverpool hoping for another one of those comebacks in the UEFA Champions League. Still a minute at least to half-time. Atletico Madrid have a throw-in deep in Liverpool territory. Referee calming things down again. Van Dijk got a little heated. He's marking Felipe, who's forward here. Trippier's going to take the throw-in. He's going to hurl it into the Liverpool box. Henderson went forward, didn't get clean contact on the header, I think because he was pushed from behind, and the referee immediately in there. He's taking impressive charge of the fixture, I think, Danny Mackley, because, you know, it's intense. And he's having to be intense to the players sometimes, but he's managing it well.
Yeah, a lot of strong personalities on that pitch. We knew it was going to be a closely fought, intense game, and that's exactly what it is. And since that Wijnaldum goal, well, the atmosphere in the stands has gone up a notch or two as well, Richard.
Strong personalities on the pitch, on the sideline. Quite a few in the crowd as well, I think. Minimum 1 minute of added time at the end of this first half. Liverpool lead by a goal to nil. It's 1-1 over the two legs. Now what? Everything is still possible on the night. But if there's another goal, then extra time will be removed from the equation. Liverpool going down the right-hand side. Firmino is working hard to get after it. He's won it, finds Mane, edge of the box, tries to nutmeg Thomas Partey, and it'll be a Liverpool corner. A Ghanaian just about keeping the Senegalese player at bay. Little shake of the head from Partey, but Mane is tough to resist. He avoided the worst outcome, but it's a Liverpool corner as the seconds tick down to half-time. Ask Simeone right now, and he'd be happy to get in at 1-0, because this might be the last passage of play in the first half. Wijnaldum in there again, Van Dijk making a run. It's a high ball, and it's over Van Dijk. It bounced off Wijnaldum, and the whistle goes for the end of the half, and Jurgen Klopp is running down the tunnel to prepare his half-time team talk. Players from both sides energetically chatting to one another about what has preceded the whistle there. A terrific first half, chances at both ends, more for Liverpool. Oblak far the busier of the two goalkeepers, and Wijnaldum's header in the 43rd minute has squared things up. This is set for a wonderful second half. Liverpool lead Atletico Madrid at half-time by 1-0.
Thank you very much, Richard. Meanwhile, there has been another goal in Paris. This happened moments ago. Your commentator, Mike Sewell.
Di Maria just outside the area, lays it off, driven in, flicked on by Bernat into the far corner, and right on the stroke of half-time, Paris double their lead through Juan Bernat. An unlikely goal scorer, but an important one nonetheless. Mbappe is standing on his chair in the dugout. Delight all around from Paris Saint-Germain. They now lead 2-0 on the night, 3-2 on aggregate.
Well, what a massive moment for Paris Saint-Germain. Dortmund had to score anyway, but now the task is even more daunting. Let's go to Mike Sewell for the last moments of the first half.
Indeed, they certainly do need to get themselves in a better position now, Dortmund. Paris have been the better team by far for much of the first half, and it was a lovely little flick on from Sarabia's low ball into the penalty area by Bernat, and he had just enough on it to divert it beyond Berkey into the far corner. And what a time to score, having already turned the tie in their favour through Neymar's header after 28 minutes. But the 2 goals now put them ahead 3-2 on the night. And I guess if Dortmund score now, it puts it all square, all told. Really nicely poised, but Dortmund have got to do something in the second half. Paris 2, Dortmund 0 on the night. They lead 3-2 on aggregate.
Register now at UEFA.com for exclusive access to Champions League final tickets and much more. Create an account to watch live matches in selected territories on UEFA.tv and play fantasy football and predictor to win great prizes. It's all on UEFA.com and it's all for free.
You're listening to Matchday Live with me, Rod Daly, on UEFA.com, the Champions League app, and live across North America on Sirius XM FC. If you're just joining us, where have you been? It's a brilliant night so far. Liverpool lead by 1-0 at Anfield against Atletico. Gini Wijnaldum with a header not dissimilar to the headed goal he scored against Barcelona in the semi-finals last season. This one a downward header into the ground. Liverpool deservedly ahead in the first half. And Paris Saint-Germain 2-0 up against Dortmund at the Parc des Princes, and they lead 3-2 on aggregate. Neymar and Bernat with the goals there. Bernat given the second goal for Paris Saint-Germain. We'll speak to Mike Sewell watching that game in a moment, but let's focus on Liverpool Atletico. 1-0 on the night, 1-1 on aggregate, so we're headed for extra time and penalties, as Gary Gillespie predicted earlier in the show. Andy Brassel, Richard Connolly with me. Richard, the numbers of that first half, of course 1-0, but does that reflect the flow of the game?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Liverpool have had 5 attempts on target. Atletico haven't mustered one yet. Oblak's had to make 4 saves, so the 4 saves plus the goal from Wijnaldum. 11 attempts in total by the home side to 2 from Atletico. Here's an interesting one though. Atletico's pass accuracy 58% compared to Liverpool's 76%, and that I think is the Liverpool pressure on the Atletico ball carrier when they have got it back. It's been very difficult for them to string passes together. They had a little passage of play around the half-hour mark when they managed to get forward and kept Liverpool in their own half for a couple of minutes. Otherwise, it's been quite intensely Liverpool pushing back Atletico, and you couldn't argue when the goal came, particularly I think as we'd identified that triangle of 3 down the right-hand side. All triangles are 3. That triangle down the right-hand side with Alexander-Arnold from a deep position, Salah wide to the touchline, and Oxlade-Chamberlain making that run, underlapping Salah, and he was the player that they got in and crossed for Wijnaldum.
Great ball.
It was a terrific ball. There was a bit of a confusion in the centre from Atletico, and we've watched the sort of tactical cam in the early part of the half-time interval where Thomas Partey was in there picking up, I think, Firmino, and Mane had dragged Savic, and Felipe had said to Savic, you move to Wijnaldum, he's there, but he had Mane to deal with, and as a result Wijnaldum was left all on his own to head the ball down and into the corner.
But it was really about the diversity of the approach. I think the fact that Liverpool tried something which nearly worked a lot, and then when it didn't work, they didn't keep doing the same thing. So when Alexander-Arnold gets the ball on the right-hand side, your first instinct is big early cross, because they dealt with that quite well, even though it wasn't easy. But instead, Alexander-Arnold plays it short, Salah plays it to the line, and it's really the first cross from the touchline pulled back albeit in the air, that they actually have to deal with. And that was what made it so difficult, I think, for them to defend and for them to pick up Wijnaldum, who had plenty of space but still directed it brilliantly into the corner.
Yeah, and also the direction downwards is key, because we've been mentioning the rain all night, and people listening can visualise, I'm sure, the ball going down into the turf at quite a sharp angle, and the upward then skid of the ball up into the corner of the net gives the goalkeeper no chance from maybe 10 metres out the initial header, at the maximum, probably 8. So the pace on the ball was maintained by the header down into the turf.
Celebrations on the touchline memorable, as well as Jurgen Klopp punched the air. Liverpool lead on the night. Richard, Andy, thank you very much. So it's all level at the moment in that tie. We're going to extra time and penalties as things stand, but I don't think the scoring is done at Anfield. Let's go to the Parc des Princes. No crowd, of course. A reminder, the game behind closed doors due to concerns over the COVID-19 outbreak. But Paris Saint-Germain, for their supporters outside the stadium, Mike Stewart, are putting on a show.
They certainly are. They've been the better team for the majority of the match so far, and deservedly have their 2-0 half-time lead given to them by Neymar after 28 minutes. A diving header, stooping in ahead of Achraf Hakimi, who'd lost sight of Neymar inside the penalty area from Di Maria's corner. It was well executed by the Brazilian. And then right on the stroke of half-time, Sarabia's low ball into the penalty area got the deftest of touches from Juan Bernat, which diverted the ball beyond Roman Bürki into the far corner of the Dortmund net. Paris, definitely the better team in the way they played, confidently, very assured. Dortmund have looked more threatening on the counter-attack once or twice have troubled, should I say, Keylor Navas, although really they're quite straightforward saves for the Costa Rican goalkeeper. But Haaland has been kept relatively quiet. He's picked up a yellow card as well for frustration in a challenge inside the midfield. And really at the moment, Paris, if they carry on like this, are going to be hard to beat because they have the advantage.
Mike, it was interesting watching the celebration of Neymar there, and granted it's a big goal, but that goal essentially levelled the tie at 2-2 on aggregate. But I feel that celebration was just him letting all of that injury frustration, particularly he's had in this competition out in recent years, he really enjoyed that moment.
He did, and he got the goal away from home as well, which may come into play again if Dortmund are to score. So scoring in both legs of this tie could be really important, and given Mbappe's absence from the starting lineup, he is on the bench, and I guess he will be needed late on if they need to get a goal or get back in the game or continue as they have so far. But Neymar has proved to be the key element, and he's been dropping deep, picking up good balls. They've been very, very economical in their passing. They've been very efficient of Paris tonight. They look very assured. The absence of the crowd hasn't really affected them. In fact, you can hear the crowd that have gathered outside the Parc des Princes. There's a few thousand of them letting off fireworks, cheering. Banners have been laid out in the stadium as well, one of which actually says in French, I won't try and say it in French, but play like warriors, and another says qualify us. And so far, they're doing the job for them.
Mike, thank you very much. If you want to get your thoughts to us on the show tonight, let us know where you're listening from as well. The best way to do that is on Twitter using the hashtag #MatchDayLive. Get your messages into myself, Rob Daly, and the team, and we'll read those out. Well, by the end of tonight, we'll know half the quarter-final lineup, of course. Atalanta and Leipzig are already into the last 8, but the final 4 spots will be decided next week. You won't miss a thing right here on Matchday Live, as Chris Parrott explains.
The action continues in just 6 days' time as some of the biggest clubs in the world aim for the last 8. It's sure to be a fascinating night in Manchester, where Real Madrid are playing catch-up against City.
And so Kevin De Bruyne, the captain, taking the responsibility, Manchester City's best player, to put them in front, and he sends Courtois the wrong way, and Manchester City's players wheel away as one in celebration. It's Real Madrid 1, Manchester City 2.
Kevin De Bruyne was majestic at the Bernabeu 2 weeks ago. Can he and Pep Guardiola finish the job?
It's just the first part, it's not 3 points, and if one team can overcome the situation, and for experience, for everything is this club. But of course, a good result.
So Manchester City against Real Madrid is in the balance, and so is Tuesday's other tie. Lyon are 90 minutes away from an almighty shock. Here's Aouar down the left-hand side, away from his man. Aouar into the box. why in 7 days' time is all square.
Gets in behind, Nelson Semedo is in, squaring for Griezmann, and there's the equaliser for Barcelona.
Antoine Griezmann's strike in Naples means there's everything to play for as Napoli head to Barcelona. Matchday Live is on air next Tuesday and Wednesday from 19:30 CT. We'll have the goals as they go in from all four ties.
Chris Barra there, of course. The Champions League is back next week. And if you want to get in touch with us on the show, use the hashtag MatchdayLive on Twitter, like Flynn has, listening in snowy Scotland. MK31 tuning in while on a road trip through Texas. And hello to Carly H. Jesse tuning in from Uganda, encouraging signs from João Felix. He felt in the first half. Great commentary as always. Keep your messages coming in on Twitter. A reminder as well, there's Europa League action tomorrow night, but 2 matches have been today called off due to concerns over COVID-19. Sevilla versus Roma being one of those in Spain, and Inter versus Getafe. Of course, Serie A currently suspended due to concerns about the virus. But tonight it is Liverpool 1, Atletico 0, 1-1 on aggregate, Paris Saint-Germain 2, Dortmund 0. The second half of those games coming up shortly. We'll take you right through to extra time and penalties if we do need that kind of drama. But if you are just joining us, this is what you've missed so far.
With the corner this time. It's a really good corner! Headed in by Neymar! Stooping ahead of his marker to put Paris in front on the night and draw them level in the tie. They now have the advantage due to Neymar's away goal. Now he's scored at home. Di Maria just outside the area, lays it off, driven in, flicked on by Bernat into the far corner, and right on the stroke of half-time, Paris double their lead through Juan Bernat.
Liverpool down the right wing, Oxlade-Chamberlain giving the ball. Wijnaldum! Wijnaldum with the header into the turf and sent fast on backhand into the corner. And with 2 minutes to half-time, Anfield celebrates. The tie is level. Liverpool 1, Atletico Madrid 0. You're listening to Matchday Live with me, Rob Daly. So currently, Paris Saint-Germain are going through to the quarter-finals to join Atalanta and Leipzig with that 3-2 aggregate lead in Paris. Julian Draxler out on the pitch at half-time, going through some warm-ups. I'd be surprised if we saw the German international introduced at half-time. Meanwhile, at Anfield in our feature commentary with Andy Brassel and Richard Connolly alongside me now, the Atletico players are making their way out of the tunnel at Anfield on what is a rainy night. A grimace on the face of Diego Costa. There's always a grimace on the face of Diego Costa, if we're brutally honest. And Jurgen Klopp's inside the tunnel, just talking to a couple of officials, waiting for his players to make their way out to the dressing room at half-time. I think ultimately, Richard, and that's something I want to convey to the listeners on UEFA.com and the app and across North America and Sirius XM FC ties, this has been a really high-level football match so far. Oh, it's been absolutely wonderful. I mean, it really has been enjoyable. A real thrill to see 2 teams playing well against one another, doing the things that we know they do well, and bringing with it an intensity and an attitude, you know, of the highest competitive value without overstepping. Although I think the referee has actually played a big part in maintaining that live swim. I think he's done really well at expressing an authority on the game without distributing the cards that players don't like in big occasions like this, allowing for the slippery conditions perhaps as well. So, I mean, it's got a bit of everything, and of course there is nothing between the teams.
The 2 teams are back out. To get in touch with us on the show, Twitter, hashtag MatchDayLive. Hello to Milan tuning in from New Zealand, and hello to Will on holiday, it would appear, in Barbados. The teams are back out. Mike Schall is updating us on Paris Saint-Germain 2, Dortmund 0, 3-2 on aggregate throughout the course of the night. But alongside me, Rob Daly on Matchday Live now. Andy Brassel, Richard Connolly, teams out second half. Here we go, Liverpool Atletico.
The rain is hammering down at Anfield. Liverpool get us underway in the second period, attacking the Kop end, as they love to do in the second halves of matches. And this, their famous home. Remember, they have not lost a two-legged European tie under Jurgen Klopp. It's a staggering thing, but they've either reached the final of the UEFA Europa League or the UEFA Champions League, or they've not been involved in European competition at all during the time that he has been at Liverpool. All in red, of course, with the white trim and the white numbers. Atletico Madrid all in black with red trim and red numbers. It's not just me, that rain feels a bit sleety, doesn't it, Andy? It's getting chilly and
it's like one solid block of,
yes,
of rain.
It's thick rain.
I mean, we saw at half-time one of the Liverpool backroom team come round with a towel to dry off the seats on the bench of Jurgen Klopp and his assistants. Very much like being the parent of a young child in the playground over the winter months.
Cleaning a slide before they can go down. I've done that once or twice. Here's Lodi making a dash forward for Atletico, running down the teams in just a second. In case you are just tuning in, nobody's made a change at half-time. Both benches do look pretty strong. Both coaches have options. Salah looks to get on the end of a diagonal ball, and clearing header from Lodi is just strong enough to get it away from Salah. And then Koke lifts one up towards Diego Costa. Gomez wins an initial aerial challenge. The ball drops for the upright Saul in the midfield. He has time to have a look both ways, and then finds a pass to Lodi, who is running beyond Alexander-Arnold down the left and crossing, and that's comfortable for Adrian, who's had a pretty comfortable night for Liverpool, and actually his distribution at times has been useful. Slipped there by Firmino, bounced off him back to a red shirt, and they've played it over the top for Salah, and Salah's in behind here, and he went straight at Oblak. He was opening up the body to side-foot it into the top corner on that left foot, but he didn't get it right, and it went straight at the man in goal.
Plenty of time in the end for Mo Salah, but didn't get quite all the way around the ball and dragged the shot a little bit straight into Oblak. It was brilliant to recover possession when he was falling in the middle of the field from Firmino, as you were saying in the first place.
I think there might have been a little touch of good fortune about Firmino's knockback, but anyway, he did do well as he was falling down. Now Liverpool under some pressure, and Mane's been nudged over there by Trippier. So that will be a Liverpool free kick on the corner of their own penalty area. So Liverpool's team, Adrian in goal, Alexander-Arnold, Gomez, Van Dijk and Robertson at the back, Henderson, Wijnaldum and Oxlade-Chamberlain, the three men in midfield, although both Wijnaldum and Oxlade-Chamberlain combined for the goal. Salah, Mane and Firmino, the front three. Oblak in goal for Atletico, Trippier, Savic, Felipe and Renan Lodi, the back four. Koke, Saul Niguez, Thomas Partey and Correa across the midfield, and Diego Costa and Joao Felix the forward two. Outfield players, Liverpool have Fabinho, Milner, Minamino, Lallana, Origi and Matip as substitutes. Atletico have Jimenez, Morata, Lemar, Llorente, Carrasco and Vasilico. Here's Salah on the near side, that's the Liverpool right, trying to find Oxlade-Chamberlain, who again is in that sort of corner of the field, but interception by Saul. And here's Koke now on the near side for Atletico, right in front of Jurgen Klopp, who's in the big puffer jacket. And it's his men who prevent the ball getting to Joao Felix, and it's Klopp who is applauding down there. The managers are trying to match each other for intensity on the near side as Salah rolls his man and looks for the reverse pass to Firmino. He might have gone for goal, Salah didn't. Here's Robertson on the far side now as Liverpool get it back again. Wijnaldum, the goal scorer, wide to Mane. Wijnaldum's made his way into the box. Mane looking to exchange the play, finds Alexander-Arnold, corner of the box. He lays it back to Oxlade-Chamberlain. He lifts it in. Mane's round the back. Oh, save from Oblak. And was he offside, Mane? If he wasn't, well, he was. The flag is up. But surely there he had a chance to square that ball with a couple of teammates in the middle. In the end, he was offside. It's a good decision. Remains 1-0.
They're back on the way in France. Let's go to Mike Sewell.
Dortmund are coming forward here with Guerrero attacking the goal away to the left. They made a really good start to the second half. Borussia Dortmund, Sancho trying to get the better of Di Maria and does so initially, but Di Maria will get the ball away. They've made a really good start to the second half. Still 2-0 to Paris on the night, 3-2 to Paris on aggregate, so they're in the driver's seat at the moment.
Super start to the second period as well for Liverpool. This is headed for extra time as things stand, but I can't see it staying goalless either way. The Reds on the charge here, Richard Connolly.
Here's Robertson into Wijnaldum, left side of the penalty box, back to Mane in a wide position, low cross, slice clearance from Koke, went up in the air, drops on the edge of the area, hacked away by Saul second time around. He's got bright red boots on, Saul, up towards Diego Costa and Joao Felix. For a moment there, Atleti had pressure on Gomez and Van Dijk, and there were 3 black shirts homing in, but they were calm under the pressure. Oh, Henderson then has given it away to Partey on the halfway line. Liverpool a bit short at the back here, forward by Correa towards Diego Costa, but the pass too far in front and through to Adrian.
Yeah, and we've seen in those last couple of plays really the difference between the two sides, the composure on the ball.
Rain again driving in as Liverpool collect it through Robertson over by the far corner flag. Left-hand side in front of the Kop. Liverpool attacking the goal to our right as we look. 1-0 up on the night. So it's dead level over the 2 games. Salah, beautiful pass. Oxlade-Chamberlain's, well, was it a cross or a shot? It went past the far post and wide. And in the end, he neither lifted the ball across the goal nor drove it at the top corner.
It looked like the chip was on for a minute. Just got a little bit too much contact on it, really. Just wondered if it leapt up a little bit for him. And Saul just turning around there saying, come on, let's get it together at the back here. Atleti looking a little bit ragged for the first time this evening.
It's that right-hand side, which is still so troublesome for them. The runs of Oxlade-Chamberlain are proving elusive. And then you've got the elusive skill of Salah on that side as well, that often he finds himself away from his marker. So real dilemmas for Atleti down that side, and the skill of Alexander-Arnold, the crossing ability. So it's a real triple threat.
Well, if you're Diego Costa and you're that traditional sort of centre forward, you're probably looking enviously up the other end and thinking, oh, I'd love to be on the end of one of those, eh?
Salah down the right-hand side in a wide position again. Lodi came in with the sliding challenge. Again, the left-back coming from inside the penalty area out towards the touchline. A narrow starting position. He made the challenge. Liverpool from the throw-in quickly again. Oxlade-Chamberlain, Alexander-Arnold, Salah all combining. Dinked in. Saul got in the way with the header. Koke's clearing pass, but behind Joao Felix, straight to Van Dijk. More red pressure coming. 8 minutes into the second half on UEFA Champions League Matchday Live. Liverpool lead 1-0. Wijnaldum the scorer. Here's Henderson. 15 metres outside the box. Oxlade-Chamberlain, low drive. Oh, it was skidding and slipping along the turf. All Black saves, low to his right-hand side. Corner.
I don't think he really got a great look at that either. Couple of defenders in front of him, so to get down that well and get such a decisive hand on it, very, very impressive.
Short corner, back to Alexander-Arnold. Didn't strike the cross. Headed clearance, but Gomez is at home for Liverpool and not under any pressure on the halfway line. Diagonal being called for. Henderson delivers it towards Robertson. Trippier moves out there, nods it away. Mane to the second ball, and Mane's won the free kick. He was so swiftly in front of Correa, nipped in. Correa just caught his legs. Free kick Liverpool between penalty box and touchline.
Right, we're just seeing the substitution board being hauled up, so I wonder if there's going to be a change for Atletico in a minute, but they've got to get through this free kick first, because one goal, of course, could really change Diego Simeone's thinking.
Substitution will give us a good idea as to what that thinking is as well right now. Van Dijk in the middle for the free kick. Alexander-Arnold looks like the taker. No, it's Robertson swinging it away. Van Dijk got up early, but it was over him. Oblak with half a punch away, needed some support to clear, but the support was there. Oh, Gomez nearly caught on the halfway line. 2 black shirts appeared from nowhere and nearly nicked it off him, and he just had to react and get rid of it. Second time this half that's nearly happened for Liverpool, but nearly happened for Atletico. Marcus Llorente is the substitute who's going to come on. started at the weekend and played a good game. Former Real Madrid man, and it's Costa who's coming off. Extra man into the midfield, Andy.
That's right. He doesn't look happy about it at all.
He wouldn't be. He wouldn't be, would he?
No, he wouldn't be, and he was hoping to influence this game, but I think it's necessary. It's what Atletico needed to do. And we talked about that Liverpool triumvirate on the right-hand side in the first half. Now, Atletico have tried to react to that in the second half, with Lodi getting help from Saul Niguez and Coque going over there. But obviously that leaves a gap in the middle, and that is what Marcos Llorente is trying to plug.
Here's Joao Felix on the ball for Atletico. He's got to pass through the centre. Saul collecting it, now laying it back to Joao Felix on the edge, and a shot straight at Adrian, who's made his first save, I think, of the night in the 56th minute. Simple one it was too, but Joao Felix there was the instigator of that mini Atletico counter, and for a second it did look on for Saul.
That's right, and already we're seeing a little bit of velocity, aren't we? Because Correa has moved more into the centre now beside Joao Felix, and that is the way I think they'll look to play. They weren't getting much out of Diego Costa, not even really softening up the centre-back, so that extra body in midfield I think makes a bit of sense, and already we're seeing the speed that opened Liverpool up slightly.
Yeah, it's such an athletic game, as you were saying earlier on, Andy. Costa brought a lot of things to the party, but out-and-out athleticism in a match of this intensity maybe wasn't one of them.
Especially after being out for so long.
Exactly. Van Dijk bringing it forward for Liverpool, but kind of a drifting run. Mane was there in support. Liverpool couldn't make anything happen. Throw in Atletico Madrid inside their own half. Still 1-0. More than half an hour still to play.
Let's go to the Parc des Princes. Mike Schulz watching this one.
11 minutes into the second half. Still Paris 2, Dortmund 0 on the night. 3-2 Paris lead on aggregate, and they nearly extended that aggregate lead from a long-distance free kick by Angel Di Maria. A good 35 metres out, left-footed. It looked like he was going to drop it over the Dortmund defence. Instead, he went for the right-hand post of Roman Bürki, who launched himself and athletically managed to push the ball wide. It may well, with the curl, crept inside that far corner, but as it was, Bürki made the save. And Dortmund made a good start to the second half, but have not managed to get themselves back into this tie as yet. Paris 2, Dortmund 0, 3-2 the French club lead on aggregate.
Extra time is still a possibility tonight in both of our games. We're heading that way at Anfield at the moment. Here is Salah down the right-hand side. Couldn't quite escape the attentions of Lodi, the Brazilian left-back for Atletico Madrid. Alexander-Arnold picked it up and found Salah immediately with the forward pass, and he couldn't get past Lodi for a second time. A merit mark there to the left-back for the away team, but somewhat worrying from their point of view that Salah got so swiftly back on the ball in so much space.
Absolutely, Richard, but I do think Lodi getting the ball there is the consequence of getting that extra bit of help on that left-hand side, because now I think he feels at liberty for the first time to go one-to-one with Salah, where he didn't dare to do that before with the other two out there.
There's Wijnaldum by the halfway line. Oxlade-Chamberlain, Firmino calling forward in front of him. Salah is there too. Salah's touch into Firmino. Wasn't the most accurate. Firmino almost made something of it, and then Salah has brought about a handball against Thomas Partey by trying to lift it past the Ghanaian. Had his arm to his side, must have struck the upper part of it. We're looking at a replay. Well, sharp-eyed the referee, and the free kick to Liverpool is maybe 3 metres outside the penalty box, near the right corner. Alexander-Arnold and Robertson, inevitably enough, are over it, again providing the dual threat. One who will curl it in, the other who will curl it away, keeping the goalkeeper uncertain as to what kind of ball is going to arrive in his penalty box. Wijnaldum, obviously a danger. He scored with one header from across on the right-hand side. Van Dijk is in there again. It's Alexander-Arnold. It's whipped in beautifully. Oh, Oblak has to save from Firmino at the back post. It was all the way through to Firmino from a tight angle. Oblak was really quick along his goal line and made another fine save.
Really terrific improvisation from Oblak. He looked caught there between the attacker and the ball for a minute and just kind of reached his hand behind himself, didn't he, to get that effort away.
Wonder if Firmino made the cleanest contact. But anyway, the chance has passed. And here come Atleti on the counter. Joao Felix has got a one-on-one with Robertson. Drives in the shot. Adrian spills it and then makes an excellent recovery save. That's his biggest moment of the night so far. And he might be a little hurt because it bounced off him a long way and he really had to dive down in at the boots. And he did so to good effect.
The ball from Saul is terrific. But I think Adrian in the end ends up chasing his own error. I don't think Joao Felix really got the contact on it that he was hoping for. But really brave recovery from Adrian there, and I think he'd be wise to take a minute. A bit like a felled boxer to just take a deep breath and recover. He took the ball right in the face there, didn't he, from Correa?
Yeah, it was Correa steaming in. And you just saw from the replay that we've been able to view just what it meant to both men as they made that challenge. Completely fair challenge. Correa got there first, but Adrian smothered it, and as Andy said, took it right on the chin. Play has continued. Liverpool leading 1-0 on the night. It's 1-1 on aggregate. Dead level. Ball in the Atletico Madrid half. Liverpool have worked it to Salah. Here's Oxlade-Chamberlain. Time to pull it back. Almost found Firmino. Atletico got their angles right and got it away. But Joao Felix couldn't hold it up. Tough one to bring in. And it's Liverpool with the ball again on the halfway line. Atleti have posed more of a threat to Adrian's goal in this second half. Whether it's as a direct result of the substitution, I'm not sure, but certainly the threat on the counter is there, and Joao Felix feels like a more central figure for them. Maybe both in terms of the match as a whole and geographically as well.
Yes, it's always needed to be their plan for him to build the game plan around him, and it does feel more the case now, Richard, I agree.
Mane, a pass intercepted by Saul. Oh, he's gone for goal from the halfway line. It's wide. It's wide from Saul, but he saw Adrian off his line and he went for one of the great goals, and he missed it by about 2 meters. Adrian was running back and he had a pretty good handle on that, saw that it was travelling wide, but Liverpool lost it in a dangerous area and a nervous moment for Anfield.
And Xabi Alonso scored a goal like that or two for Liverpool, didn't he?
He did, and well, any goal like that is to be admired by all of us, and Saul had the audacity to try it on a big night. Mane was the player who got caught out. I mean, Atletico have had more joy with their press on Liverpool. They seem to have made a more concerted effort in this second half to win the ball back in a higher area.
They have, and since the substitution as well, as you were pointing out, Richard, Saul has been in those central areas more.
In goes the diagonal from Liverpool, Robertson round the back, but he's just been found guilty of a foul on Trippier there. So Atleti free kick in their own penalty box. Liverpool 1-0, Rob.
To Paris, let's catch up with Mike.
We've had 17.5 minutes of the second half. We're about to have our first substitution of the game. Paris still leading 2-0 on the night, 3-2 on aggregate. We've got a free kick, or is it a throw-in over on the far side of the field? We're waiting to take that, and Kylian Mbappe is readying himself. He's going to replace Pablo Sarabia slightly earlier than we anticipated. We thought that Mbappe may just be brought on late on if Paris needed a goal, but Thomas Tuchel has decided to bring him on now just after the hour mark, so he'll play around half an hour of this game. Will Kylian Mbappe, who has been struggling with a sore throat the last couple of days. So on comes Mbappe, off goes Sarabia. Paris though in control of the tie at the moment.
Thank you very much, Mike. To get in touch with us on the show, hashtag MatchDayLive on Twitter. Hello to Nathaniel tuning in from Papua New Guinea. Ahmed Salem tuning in from South Carolina. Peanut Odi from Uganda. And hello to Mick as well, listening on his way to tennis practice, of course. Hashtag MatchDayLive on Twitter. Andy Brassel, Richard Connolly, alongside me, Rob Daly.
We've played, 20 minutes now of this second half. Still, Wijnaldum's goal divides the sides. Liverpool have it right side, down in Atletico territory. Can't make anything happen. It's hooked away. Van Dijk will run back into his own half to recover the ball. Well, it just does feel like Atletico are posing a bit more of a threat. Adrian's had to make A good save after he spilled the João Felix shot, but a moment that could have defined him, which he recovered from. And Liverpool still have a threat of their own. Intriguing what happens next. Extra time on the cards as things stand. Here's Firmino on the ball for Liverpool, turning and finding Oxlade-Chamberlain, who drives purposefully immediately at the heart. Mane almost flicked it round the corner for Firmino. Oxlade-Chamberlain winning it back on the edge. Real mess of players from which Partey emerges for Atletico. Terrific work, and he has found Koke in front of him. Gets the ball back, the Ghanaian, and now finds João Felix. He really has turned defence into attack here for Atletico. Liverpool are keeping pressure on the ball carrier though. Henderson won it back for Salah, who finds Firmino. There's space in behind Atleti here. Firmino holds onto it, finds Henderson. He's got Robertson outside into his left. Henderson back infield to Firmino. Now to the near side, the right, and Salah away from his man. Cross shot and headed against the bar by Robertson. He thought he'd scored, driven back in. Firmino can't get a hold of it, and away by Savic for Atletico Madrid. As close as Liverpool have come to a second goal. But it didn't go in.
Oh, but it was mighty close. And Atletico really creating their own problems there, overplaying. And they should have just gone for the quick counter-attack. And Mo Salah coming all the way back to retrieve the ball and then having an integral part in the move that nearly resulted in that second goal way deep into the Atletico penalty box.
Again, Salah's ability one-on-one to get past his man, causing such a problem for Atletico, or at least far enough past his man that even if he gets the shot away, it gets deflected awkwardly. Mane now picking it up and driving hard at the Atletico defence. Gets a return ball from Firmino, left edge of the box. Two in the centre, Wijnaldum's one, Salah the other. Mane's won a corner in the end. Felipe held him up long enough to stop the cross. As we get a replay of Robertson's header, which I think went against Trippier and then against the bar. Trippier might get some credit there for an excellent bit of defending.
It's a really terrific bit of defending by the England full-back. He's losing a few centimetres on Robertson as well, so just doing enough to put him off.
England-Scotland battle in a European round of 16 affair. Liverpool corner, Oblak again under pressure underneath his crossbar. Alexander-Arnold whips it right in there. Oh, Oblak flapped it, dropped just behind him, and it dropped to Koke, who had time and composure enough to have a look and cleared it. Yeah, Gomez thumps it back in, and Atleti will get it away with a second header. I think it's not long before it's coming back once more.
No, absolutely. And as you say, what composure by Koke as the ball dropped perilously close to the goal line, just waiting for the moment that he could pick it up and play the pass down the line. Nerveless.
And Koke was totally calm, and Oblak was really worried.
He's had a few big flaps this evening, hasn't he?
Here's Oxlade-Chamberlain, 30 metres out, square to Alexander-Arnold. He's driven in, oh, good save. It's come out Robertson, and Trippier in the way again of Robertson. Blocks the shot and puts it behind. A real stinging blow initially from Alexander-Arnold, and this time from Oblak it went back towards a dangerous area. Was a tight angle for Robertson, but his shot appeared on target. Corner in front of the Kop. Robertson near post towards Firmino, dummied it. Didn't go far behind him. Partey didn't clear, and then Saul did throw in Liverpool on the far side. Not sure Robertson got quite the contact on the corner he wanted, and neither did he on that cross. It's gone high in the air, but Salah's brought it out of the air before the challenge came in, and it's towed down into the Liverpool half.
And these moments, Richard, are really showing you why it's Liverpool's trophy, aren't they? From going from being under pressure, for there being a few nerves in the stands at Anfield, to just being all over their opponent, and all over a storied opponent, all over again. And Atletico have just been hanging on by their fingernails for the last few minutes.
Mane's fouled Correa near halfway. Atleti do have a free kick to just relieve some of this pressure. Worth a reminder that if Atleti were to score, then Liverpool would need to score 2 more goals to go through. 2-1 on the night sends the Spanish team through. but it's 1-0 for Liverpool as things stand. 1-1 overall. Oxlade-Chamberlain, purposeful again, has found Salah down the near side. Salah makes ground. Firmino is in attendance. Firmino's square ball. Salah ran underneath his boot. Would you believe it? First miscontrol, I think, by Salah we've seen all evening long. Was a promising position, but he's posed such a threat to Atletico Madrid. Nobody of a Liverpool persuasion will stay critical for long. Firmino trying to head on a long pass down the right side. Cleared away, up towards halfway. Again, down the near touchline. Gomez lifted it forward. Oxlade-Chamberlain picked it up again. Oxlade-Chamberlain round his man towards the byline. Has he got a corner there? I think he has, off for Renan Lodi. He is driving with such determination and such close control, Oxlade-Chamberlain. I mean, he's weary, but he's playing a fine match.
He really is, and it's just indicative of Liverpool at the moment, just trying to overwhelm Atletico with their fifth gear.
Alexander-Arnold from the right side in front of the Kop. Clips it in near post. Headed away by Joao Felix, who was back defending. Henderson collects going away from goal. And here's Robertson now on the left. The diagonal hung up in the air. Van Dijk is underneath it, heads it on, and Oblak, after a little bit of doubt with Felipe, falls on the ball. And Atletico have it, and we are into the last 18 minutes, last 19 minutes of the match. And the closer we get to the end with the score as it is, the more Liverpool might start to think, well, yeah, if we do concede now, then we're in deeper and deeper trouble. So it's still on a knife edge, isn't it, at the moment?
It's early enough for them to be brave in searching that second goal, Richard. Whether that will be the case in 10 minutes' time, if the score's still the same, who knows?
You've eloquently described the balance that I was fumbling for. 1-0 Liverpool, 1-1 overall on UEFA Champions League Matchday Live. Wijnaldum loses out in the centre circle, forward by Marcos Llorente. Interception by Gomez, and now Liverpool might come back the other way. Oxlade-Chamberlain looking for Mane early, and he got up early, but Oblak read that really well and plucked it out of the rainy sky. Clearance intercepted by Oxlade-Chamberlain. He's everywhere at the moment. Robertson down the left-hand side for Liverpool. His pass to Mane deflected. Slice clearance by Saul's gone high up in the air. Henderson got a shove, but still won the header. Then out came Felipe with a powerful clearing header of his own. And Van Dijk will play the back pass to his goalkeeper. Got a shove from Correa there, who is prompting a confrontation. The ball's with Adrian at the back. It's 1-0 Liverpool, Rob.
Let's go to Paris Saint-Germain. Dortmund changes there for the visitors, Mike.
18 minutes left, still 2-0 to Paris, 3-2 to them on aggregate. The two changes have seen Brandt come on for Hazard and 17-year-old American international Reina come on for Witsel as Dortmund try and seek a goal to get them back in this tie. They have to score to at least take it to extra time. And they've had a lot of the ball in the second half without really troubling Keylor Navas too much as they try to cross again. In fact, Mbappe had a good effort a few moments ago after coming on himself. But it's still 2-0 on the night as Dortmund look to try and make inroads.
Robertson here at Anfield for Liverpool down the left-hand side as they seek a second in front of the Kop. Gets it back from Mane. And then the ricochet off Trippier. Trippier's clearance then off Robertson into the crowd. And a goal kick to Atletico Madrid. Rather confused look on the face of Robertson. Trippier looking quite calm given the situation. And, well, maybe a little sting can be taken out of this by Atletico now.
It's been a really dogged second half, hasn't it, Richard, from Kieran Trippier. He's really bought into that whole Atletico mindset. They are defending in that retro style, like they defended in that game at Munich 4 years ago, nearly 4 years ago, in the second leg of the semi-final. Liverpool will hope for a different result to the one that Bayern got.
And as you said at the start of the night, Andy, if I'm not mistaken, I mean, Trippier's selection wasn't 100% guaranteed with Vasalico having played the first leg. Trippier was out injured at that time, has made himself fit since. We have certainly justified that selection.
Absolutely. Well, you have to absorb very specific tactical ideas to play for Atletico, and Herman Burgos, the assistant, speaking excellent English, has helped to articulate those to Trippier.
Here come Atletico down the left-hand side. Correa turning away from Gomez, now checking back onto his right foot, left-hand side, looking to cross. Got Koke in support, now Renan Lodi joining in. Atletico trying to work a little triangle. Correa now with quick feet, trying to get between defenders. Lays it back, Thomas Partey. Now the chance to cross for Lodi again, blocked by Alexander-Arnold, doing good defensive work. Koke away from Salah, forward towards Correa. Gomez back towards his own goal, has been fouled. And Atleti tried to play on. The ball didn't go into the back of the net anyway, but Danny McAlee's whistle was very quick. And Liverpool had the free kick. Gomez was calm, facing his own goal, only about 8 metres out. Must be an anxious time for any defender, but he was strong enough to keep the challenge away. The challenge was a foul one in the end. 1-0, Liverpool lead. Wijnaldum 2 minutes before half-time from Oxlade-Chamberlain's cross. And Oxlade-Chamberlain's on the ball again. Firmino calling for it in the channel. Pass slightly overplayed. Firmino by the goal line, keeps it in. Finds Salah. Salah lays it back to the edge for Oxlade-Chamberlain, who lifts it in above Salah, beyond Firmino, and into the goalkeeper's arms. Oxlade-Chamberlain, I think, got a word from a teammate there suggesting that he might have taken a different option, but he didn't take too kindly to.
I'm surprised he's still got the breath to have a word back. He's given so much this evening, Oxlade-Chamberlain.
Respect that Henderson is making demands of his teammates out there, the Liverpool captain. 1-0, 1-1 on aggregate. Here's Joao Felix, the talent signed from Benfica at the start of the campaign, who has had little moments that suggest he's capable of something magical from an Atletico perspective tonight, given a little fraction of space. Offside against Marcos Llorente down the right-hand side. We always have to wait that little second or two longer than we're used to for the flag, but it was correctly raised.
That's a defensive midfielder's forward run, that, isn't it? Just a little bit too early by Llorente.
It's a good line from Liverpool, though, wasn't it?
It was.
You can't afford to be half a second behind a teammate. You can't afford to drop your guard, your concentration for a moment. Liverpool go long up to Salah. Oxlade-Chamberlain into Firmino. Back to Oxlade-Chamberlain. Man behind him that the crowd alerted him to was Koke. Liverpool keep possession. Switch it to the left-hand side. Mane hasn't been as involved as Salah has on this near side, but still capable of winning the match on his own, as we know. Alexander-Arnold wide to Salah on this near side again. Salah with two defenders, lays it back, asking Alexander-Arnold to cross, but he got past the first defender and then crossed. It was half blocked, and Athletic can clear. Didn't make the most of that in the end, Liverpool, because Salah and Alexander-Arnold had got the defenders off balance. Partey did really well there for Atleti. He was at a tight spot, dribbled away from one, went between two more, and got chopped down by Firmino to get his team a valuable free kick.
Now that little section there, when they win the ball back in front of their own penalty box, that's the challenge for Atletico. They don't want to overplay because they'll be pressed upon by Liverpool, and yet they don't want to just randomly throw the ball forward. They're falling between the two stools a little bit this evening so far.
Such a test of your technique, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, to play so tight in that box down in the corner. Here's Marcos Llorente for Atleti at the other end. Coming in off the right-hand side, finding Joao Felix. Was a ball on through the middle. He couldn't quite play it. Then the strike comes in from Saul from long range. It flies wide. And Liverpool relieved to get a goal kick as that dropped for Saul. You just never quite knew where that was going to sail, but he sliced it.
Thank you very much, Richard. One of Dortmund's substitutes is creating things, Mike Sewell.
And they're edging a bit closer to troubling Keylor Navas in the Paris goal. Julian Brandt, who came on earlier in the half with a shot from just outside the area, took a deflection off Gay, who basically threw his body in the way, and it looped up onto the roof of Navas's net. That's the closest, really, that Dortmund have come to getting a goal, as Angel Di Maria makes way for Layvin Kurzawa, who's come on the pitch. Dortmund trying to hold on to this 2-0 lead and a 3-2 aggregate lead.
Thank you very much, Mike. Change imminent for Liverpool. Atletico with the throw, though. James Milner will be coming on shortly. Richard Conley, it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, a reassuring presence to come on for Liverpool, sure, but it doesn't give us any idea as to exactly what Jurgen Klopp is thinking tactically. Here's Lodi, who crosses from the left, really whipped in a ball there. Robertson with an excellent clearing header when facing his own goal. Wijnaldum further away. Mane beats Trippier to the loose ball. Mane flicks it over the top for Salah. Terrific pass and fine defending by Felipe. It had to be. Mane's pass there for Salah was outstanding.
It really was. And the industry of Mane and Salah still nearly 80 minutes into a game of this intensity, of this athletic effort. It's really incredible. And you can say the same for Felipe making that recovery.
Liverpool will get the corner. Salah's just slightly frustrated with himself that his touch wasn't perfect and it just allowed Felipe in, but he was so close. Here's the corner taken short. Alexander-Arnold's got it back. Now pulls it back. Who's coming onto this? Robertson it was, who sliced his drive, and he had so much time to size it up. It would have looked so appealing as it was rolled back towards him, and he cut across it and it spun away from goal and wide.
Yeah, he is a defender, but really presentable shooting opportunity that. So much space with everyone getting sucked into the middle. He's disappointed with himself.
Scored his first goal in the UEFA Champions League on match day 2 in that dramatic 4-3 win over Salzburg. It's Oxlade-Chamberlain who's coming off for Liverpool with 9 minutes to go. The Kop giving him a fine ovation. I think he's been one of the best players on the field tonight.
He's been excellent. He's given absolutely everything and well-deserved rest. And to bring on someone with the engine of James Milner in these closing stages, and well, we say closing stages, there could be another half an hour. It's a big advantage for Liverpool.
Yeah, the engine, the leadership qualities, and a couple of seasons ago, the creative output. He was famously topping the assists chart with 9 in a single UEFA Champions League campaign. Anyway, 1-0 Liverpool. Somebody needs to create something if we're going to avoid extra time. Both sides posing a threat. Liverpool's the most obvious at the moment. Salah, I think, fouls Felipe in the box. Referee's not given it, and then Salah did foul Lodi, who was on the cover. It was a couple of physical challenges. Danny Mackley let one go, and the second was a bit clearer for the referee. And it's an Atletico free kick inside their own penalty area. Only 8 minutes to go. Liverpool are still pushing forward despite that knife-edge balance, but if they concede now, they know the tie is almost over in Atletico's favour. Liverpool would need to score 2 if Atleti themselves scored. But 2-0 is a winning scoreline for Liverpool. Here's Firmino, and on for Milner down the left-hand side. Milner on the ball for the first time. Robertson on the overlap. Will collect it. Blocked by Marcos Llorente back there. Milner came thundering in. Fair challenge, but it bounced off the Englishman for a goal kick to Atletico. Fair challenge, but not necessarily the most subtle. Still, 7 minutes now remain. 1-0, Wijnaldum's goal divides the sides.
Let's check in with Mike watching Paris Saint-Germain Dortmund.
8 minutes left, still 2-0 to Paris, 3-2 they lead on aggregate. Dortmund, though, desperately trying to make their way into the Paris penalty area, but they've been thwarted on most occasions, and now Paris themselves trying to hit them on the break to finish off the tie as Neymar tries to square it, but it's won back by Dortmund. Intriguing last part to this game. Can Dortmund get the goal they need to take it to extra time, or can Paris finish it off? 2-0 on the night, 3-2 Paris lead overall.
Thank you very much, Mike. More drama to come tonight, surely, as Liverpool break forward here with Salah. Richard Connolly
keeps in the ball on the near touchline. Salah then darts back, has support from Wijnaldum. Wijnaldum takes it in his path. Cross shot flapped away by Oblaks. Come to Mane wide on the left. Mane lays it back towards Robertson, who got there just in time to keep it alive for Liverpool. Here's Milner now, has a look to both sides. Henderson squares it to Gomez. Atleti are back in their defensive shape. Here's Alexander-Arnold down the right-hand side. 6 minutes to go. Switched back by Liverpool to the far side, the left. Mane's on the touchline. Milner calls for it. Milner keeping it under close control, gets away from Partey, gets to the byline, crosses well. Wijnaldum was up. Here's Mane! the overhead kick over the crossbar. But we saw him setting himself for the spectacular moment, a moment he could not quite deliver.
And Wijnaldum almost finding the space that he did in the first half to score the goal, just a little bit wider of the centre of goal, struggled to just get it back into the middle. Great improvisation by him, even better improvisation from Mane, but maybe a bit close in to get the ball back down again after winning it in the air.
He had enough space, didn't he, to go for the full bicycle. And the defenders around knew that if he made the contact he wanted, he'd score. Not that I've ever executed a skill of that complexity. I don't wish to underplay how difficult it is to...
Not on a Wednesday night, anyway,
well,
Richard.
no. 5 minutes left. A little less than, plus whatever the referee adds on at the end of the match. Nice touch from Partey there under pressure from Mane, lifts it forward. Gomez with a good touch himself away, found Henderson. Henderson finds Milner in space in the centre circle. Milner rolls it to Robertson, still with plenty of petrol in the tank down the left-hand side. Robertson's cross, good one, and away by Felipe on the volley. Mane challenging for the header on the edge. Then Correa winning a header, but nobody can really put pressure on the ball carrier for Atletico. Correa had to chase his own clearance, really. And here's Robertson again on the left-hand side for Liverpool. Finds Milner. No great speed to it at the moment. Atletico are defending deep for the time being. There's not much space out there to be had. This defence is going to take some unpicking. Henderson moves it out to the left-hand side again. Robertson decides to go backwards. Van Dijk will spread it to the other corner. Diagonal ball to Salah. Salah away from Koke. Then away from a second man. Now a third. Salah with a shooting chance, and he drove it over the top. But the amazing footwork of Mo Salah to dance between the defenders like they were traffic cones, but they were trying their very best to stop him. And the shot, the area from which we've seen him score so many times, inside the box, just got underneath it and it whistled over.
What a goal that would have been. The slalom was absolutely spectacular. The fact that he retained the ball whilst changing pace there, really not far away, and Oblak wouldn't have had a hope if it was half a metre lower.
Well, Liverpool have threatened, but they are the concession of one goal away from going out. I mean, it's all a knife edge. A goal either way wins it. Mane into the box here. Mane takes it away from Felipe, lays it back for Robertson. High cross. Salah is going to get there. Lays it back. In comes Alexander-Arnold. Blocked by Salah was a vital one. Milner keeping it alive on the edge for Liverpool. Wants it played to him on the right-hand side. Salah's got it instead. Here's Alexander-Arnold. So little space out there. Koke in the way. Liverpool corner. Koke suddenly turned round as if to say, hang on a minute, this is Anfield. They take quick corners. Milner's taken the corner with Alexander-Arnold. Couldn't get a good cross in. Throw in. Throw-in's been taken. Alexander-Arnold again, left-footed cross. Van Dijk at the back post, heads it down. Mane again! Second overhead kick, that one more difficult and over the top.
The urgency here from Liverpool is absolutely incredible. They're chasing a winner to finish it off, just like you'd chase an equaliser to stay in the competition.
Hesitant to leave this game, but there's drama in Paris too. Mike Sewell.
Less than 3 minutes of normal time left. Paris 2, Dortmund 0 on the night. 3-2 Paris lead as we have a little bit of a melee right in front of the referee. Emre Can targeted there by Marquinhos as referee Anthony Taylor went for his yellow card, and it's now spilled off the pitch into the technical areas. Emre Can and Marquinhos were at the centre of it initially, and the two sets of coaching staff are trying to break this up and calm things down. Anthony Taylor has stayed calm throughout. He's now going to get some help from his video assistant referee, which is Stuart Atwell.
Okay, Mike, thank you very much. I think everyone in the stadium was actually involved in that melee in the end, but currently Dortmund are a goal away from taking that to extra time, or they don't score, they're out tonight. We're headed for extra time. Minute to go at Anfield, Richard Connolly.
Yeah, 60 seconds plus stoppage time at Anfield. Simeone is frantically pointing out instructions to his players, although that's no different really from minute 1. And this is minute 90. Goal kick to Atletico Madrid. which Oblak takes in front of the Kop, hoists it into the Liverpool half, and the free kick's been given against Correa for a foul challenge on Van Dijk. Simeone is hopping and skipping along the touchline. Liverpool take the free kick. Correa late into Van Dijk again, although Correa bounced off him and went down injured, like he might have twisted himself on the way down. The referee is playing on, so Atleti effectively a player short here as Liverpool continue down the right-hand side, seeking the winning goal. Wijnaldum lays it back to Alexander-Arnold. His cross, Mane was up, couldn't get contact. It's come all the way through to Robertson. Correa's up on his feet. 2 minutes of added time, that's all. Here's Salah, and there's Oblak with the save. Salah didn't really make contact. Remains 1-0, 1-1 overall. Rob.
OK, so there has been some activity after that melee, Mike. Sure, what's happened?
Well, the main news is that Emre Can has just been given a straight red card by Anthony Taylor for, well, he didn't really bring down Neymar, but they came head-to-head, and then Can pushed Neymar to the floor. The two of them were face-to-face. Can just raised his hand and pushed the Brazilian over, and I can only assume that's the reason why Anthony Taylor has dismissed Emre Can. So Dortmund down to 10 men. Di Maria also got a yellow card. He has already gone off the field. That must have been to do with the melee that followed. So as far as I'm aware, just a red card for Can and the yellow for Di Maria. So Dortmund now in added time still need to get this goal. Neymar also booked, incidentally.
Here's Mane for Liverpool on the front foot. We're in the 92nd minute, tried to play the 1-2 with Robertson, couldn't quite get it back, and now the counter might be on for Atleti. Joao Felix found by Koke. He's running towards the near corner. He seemed unsure as to whether to go on, and Alexander-Arnold shoved him down. And that's a free kick for Atletico Madrid with 30 seconds of stoppage time to go. And this will give Atletico a free shot here to score the winning goal. Because at the end of this free kick, I think we're going to extra time for them at worst.
How many players do they dare to push up, Richard? That is the question, because we're looking at 15 seconds of stoppage time left.
Well,
Diego Simeone's sorting it out.
He's calling the shots, and he hopes he's sending enough players forward to make the difference.
They've got a fair number forward now.
Significant opportunity.
It's interesting that Koke, the normal free kick taker, has deferred it so he can stay back. It's going to be Renan Lodi who's going to take the free kick.
Anfield holds its collective breath. In Madrid, they're on the edge of their seats. Lodi swings it in. Adrian stay behind. The header's in! Atletico Madrid, no, the flag's gone up. Simeone was running onto the pitch. Saul headed it into the goal, but the offside flag went up. What an escape for Liverpool. It will be checked. It will be checked. We're looking now as the free kick's taken. He's offside, and the goal will not stand. And the tie remains alive, and we are heading for extra time. I've got to tell you, they were off the bench, all of them, for Atletico Madrid. They thought they'd won it. They haven't. The final whistle has gone at the end of the 90 minutes. Liverpool have won the game by 1-0, but it's 1-1 on aggregate. We're heading to extra time, and that may yet be the case in Paris, Rob. We don't know yet.
This works quite nicely for us because we have 3 minutes of added time in Paris. Dortmund need a goal to get it to extra time in France now. Mike Shaw for the closing stages.
But they only have 10 men after the sending off of Emre Can, and Paris are coming forward here trying to finish off the tie. 2-0 they lead on the night, 3-2 on aggregate. A Dortmund goal would take it to extra time, but they only have around 2.5 minutes left to get it, with one man less than their opponents, as Anthony Taylor issues another yellow card. Can was sent off for pushing Neymar to the ground. Neymar was also booked. There was a melee that followed. Di Maria, who's already been taken off, also picked up a yellow, as has Kylian Mbappe now. So the yellow cards have been flying around in the last few moments, as Dortmund have a free kick inside their own half, which their goalkeeper, Roman Bürki, will take. Long ball up towards the penalty area. Hooked away by Paris. Now to the left. Dortmund attacking the goal away to the left. Brandt sends it towards the penalty area. Falls to Mario Götze over the top, looking for Hummels, who stayed forward. Paris clear, and then Götze challenges Idrissa Gueye, who goes down clutching his face. And that's going to waste more time in favour of Paris, who for the 3 previous seasons have gone out at the round of 16 stage. Confirmation that Angel Di Maria will miss the first leg of the quarter-final if it stays this way, due to that yellow card he's picked up from the substitutes bench. But for the first time in 4 years, it looks as if Paris are heading for the quarter-finals at Dortmund's expense. Marquinhos also been booked by referee Taylor. Keylor Navas then with a free kick. He's in no hurry to take. We have around a minute left of added time. Navas into the Dortmund half. Cavani tries to hold it up but loses it to Götze. Forward it goes from Mario Götze, looking for Haaland. Headed away initially by Paris. Picked up on the halfway line by Brandt. Forward early towards Haaland, whose pass is too close to Kimpembe, and he clears upfield. Neymar's goal after 28 minutes. Bernat's finish just before half-time. The difference on the night and the key moments to have turned this tie in Paris's favour. Dortmund, prior to this, had only ever lost once in 18 games, where they'd won the home leg first. But now they are heading for an exit, unless they can score in the last few seconds here. Edge of the Paris area, played in by Hummels, hopefully swept away by Paris towards the halfway line. We've had the 5 minutes of added time. Zagadou turns for Dortmund. This might be their last chance here to save the match and take it to extra time. Out to the right, Piszczek with the cross into the middle, headed out by Marquinhos. Anthony Taylor looks at his watch and blows his whistle, and Paris have turned it around. And for the first time in 4 years, they have made it to the quarter-finals of the UEFA Champions League. Celebrations all around on the pitch. There may not be any fans inside the ground, but Paris are elated at what they've achieved. They've done it on the night, and deservedly so. They kept Dortmund at bay while striking themselves. Neymar is in tears on the field as the players congratulate each other. Paris have done it. 2-0 on the night, 3-2 on aggregate. It's they who make it into the quarter-finals.
Mike, thank you very much. You're listening to Matchday Live with me, Rob Daly, Andy Brassell and Richard Connolly. We'll go back to Mike Shaw later on for more analysis to Paris Saint-Germain's progression to the last 8 of the Champions League, joining Leipzig and Atalanta. But we're not done at Anfield, because it's finished 1-0 on the night at Anfield. In 90 minutes, we go to extra time. And what drama lies in store now on Merseyside. Andy Brassell, Richard Connolly, your commentary team. An extra sub as well in extra time, and Atletico have made a change here as well, Richard.
With the Croatia international Sime Vesaliko on for Kieran Trippier. Straight swap at right back, it would appear, for the away side, who are going to kick towards the Kop in the first half of extra time. So 15 minutes each way. We haven't kicked off. The timing is perfect. Danny Mackley, the referee, in light blue shirt, black shorts and light blue socks, gets us back underway. Liverpool leading on the night by a 1-0. 1-1 on aggregate. And immediately Atleti on the front foot here. And Correa trying to find his way through. And Correa down in the penalty area, but no foul. And Liverpool have the ball with Alexander-Arnold. We'll go back through the teams once again in a moment. Away goals, of course, still count in extra time. So if Atleti were to score next, then Liverpool would require 2 penalties at the end of half an hour's play. If there is not a goal between the two teams in extra time. So Liverpool, Adrian in goal. Alexander-Arnold, Gomez, Van Dijk and Robertson. Henderson, Wijnaldum and Milner now. Salah and Mane either side of Firmino. Oblak in goal for Atletico. Vesaliko now. Savic, Felipe, Renan Lodi. Koke, Saul Niguez, Thomas Partey and Marcos Llorente in the midfield, with Correa and Joao Felix, the two furthest forward for Atleti. Here's Alexander-Arnold curling in a cross, and that bounced just in front of Oblak, but he was all over it and pulled it into his chest very comfortably. And we've played 80 seconds of extra time. Andy Brassel.
And I know it's a big ask after 93 gruelling minutes here at Anfield between these two ultra-competitive sides. But Liverpool have really got to try and go for this, I think, in the first 10 minutes of extra time, because Atletico looked really quite tired. They were really hanging on in the last 15 minutes of that. Liverpool have got to try and take advantage.
Mane, a terrific touch down the left-hand side to lift it over a flailing leg. He's into the box. He pulls the ball back really well to Wijnaldum, slightly behind the Dutchman. Has to move it onto his right-hand side to Alexander-Arnold. Brilliant reverse pass. Wijnaldum saved by Oblak. Wijnaldum gets another chance. Lifts it in. Firmino's header. It glanced off his forehead. And away and wide. I'm not sure they quite made the most of that. Couple of big chances early in extra time for Liverpool. Oblak making the save from Wijnaldum, then didn't have to make one from Firmino's header. Remains 1-0, 1-1 overall. Liverpool have had the more chances on the night by a long way. Oblak has been the busier of the two goalkeepers. We know Adrian on occasions has had to make important saves too. Liverpool feel like they're doing enough, I think, but they are also wary that there might be a moment on the counter. It's just brilliantly balanced.
There's only one way to beat Atletico in the UEFA Champions League, and it's a slog. That's it, isn't it? And I think Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp are entirely aware of that. And of course, the balance of the situation, the fact that they are slightly vulnerable in a way, as that disallowed goal at the end when they hadn't conceded a chance for a very long time shown.
Wijnaldum down the right, skipping away from one man, crossing. Oh, Firmino this time! No, he's at the post, and he's scored from the rebound! It's Roberto Firmino for Liverpool! Another right-wing cross, but Firmino got to this one, headed against the post, and the rebound came straight back to him. And for the first time in the tie, after more than 3 hours, Liverpool lead 2-0 on the night.
And the reaction there is absolutely outstanding from Firmino. It was brilliant work down the right-hand side by Wijnaldum, who scored the first goal. The cross is perfect. It's in exactly the same area as he received the ball in the first half, albeit from a deeper position. But after the ball came back off the post, you had Savic in there, you had Vrsaljko in there, but Firmino was so sharp he made them look like statues.
Well, Firmino's luck in front of goal in the UEFA Champions League has just turned, hugely so. His first goal in the competition this season. His first goal since the second leg of last season's quarter-finals. And when you think that in his first Champions League campaign, he found the net on 10 separate occasions. It's a substantial drought for any player wearing the number 9 shirt, not least the number 9 at Anfield. And now they're singing his name, and my goodness, won't that be music to his ears.
Fortunately, he's judged on very different criteria to normal centre-forwards.
Well, he is, but his output in terms of goals and assists is a long way down on that first campaign. That's his first in the Champions League this season, as we say, a vital one. Alexander-Arnold with another ball in, a free kick. Over Mane and out by Savic. They don't doubt the value of his contributions, and they come all over the field, but that is a massive one for Roberto Firmino. Simeone knows now, and penalties now are an impossibility. We won't be going to the 11-metre mark. Simeone knows a goal still takes his team through if they don't concede again. Atleti with a job to do. How does this swing the balance? How will they tilt their emphasis? Oh, Adrian! A clearance straight to João Felix. He's played the ball forward. Marcos Llorente will try a shot. Oh, he scored! A goal for Atletico Madrid, a matter of 3 minutes after Liverpool had hit the front. But here's the away goal for Simeone's team. The straight to the opponent, and the finish right into the corner, unerringly so. And Atletico are back in front with the away goal from Marcos Llorente, 2-1.
And we'd said from the beginning how missed Alisson might be. Well, it never looked clearer there. But it's great play from Joao Felix. As the ball comes back to him, it must be tempting to hit it. Second touch over Adrian's head. He's a long time off his line. Instead, he plays the pass to Marcos Llorente, a defensive midfielder, undetected. But the finish is unerring, right in the corner. Adrian doesn't even get close. Well, it's a goal from nothing.
Firmino's goal will not be the winner. Marcos Llorente's might. Well, it's his first goal in the UEFA Champions League for the man signed from Real Madrid in the summer of 2019. And Adrian is trying to show positive body language for his teammates. But that's a stunning blow for the home team, who've got to go and win the tie all over again now. The good news for them is that it came in the 97th minute, and there are still 23 minutes of play to come.
Liverpool just have to compose themselves a minute. I feel they still have this in hand, but you just look at Jurgen Klopp's face on the touchline. He can't believe it. It looked as if it was the point where Liverpool had this tie with both hands, and all of a sudden they've got to go after the game again.
One mistake and it swings back Atletico's way. Liverpool have to score now, as they did right at the start. Joao Felix offside. And the goal came so quickly, we hadn't even had time to debate how Diego Simeone might shift the makeup of his team. He didn't really have to, did he?
He was thinking about it. You could see him there on the touchline, shifting that right index finger across his lips, having a good think about it. He's still got two substitutions to play with, of course. He's got the extra one in extra time.
Psychologically, how's that affected things? Here's Salah running down the right-hand side for Liverpool. He's played a wonderful match for them tonight without finding the net just yet. Crossing from the right towards Firmino. Glances off the heads, comes to Robertson on the near side. Lays it back for Henderson. Henderson chips it in. Firmino in there. Didn't make clean contact. Dropped for Salah on the edge and over the bar from the Egyptian. Dropping ball that rather sliced off his left boot and out for a goal kick.
Salah a little frustrated. I mean, he's had so little luck this evening. He's played absolutely superbly. We're just seeing again that finish from Marcos Llorente. He's taken that awfully well for a guy who doesn't score a lot of goals, isn't he?
Second goal of the season, second goal for Atletico Madrid. First ever in the UEFA Champions League. His first came on Valentine's Day against Valencia, but he's going to get a lot more love for this one, I can tell you. Here's Gomez. We're nearly in at the 100-minute mark, so that means 5 minutes left in the first half of extra time. Salah, was he fouled there by Felipe? Felipe a long way from the centre of defence, right out by the touchline. Will be a free kick to Liverpool.
Had a couple of little nibbles at him, didn't he, Felipe, before eventually getting him. It's another good opportunity for Trent Alexander-Arnold to put in one of those fantastic balls. Early run from Firmino there, hoping to get the ball in. I don't think Alexander-Arnold saw him and going to take his time.
Wijnaldum in the centre. Virgil van Dijk is forward. It's a windy night still. Ooh, and it perhaps gusted over the top of Oblak there. Referee's given a corner, I think. Oblak is saying that he didn't touch it. And I think the decision has been changed by the officials, and Wijnaldum will give it back to Oblak to take the goal kick. It swung in deep from Alexander-Arnold, so deep. Oblak came, swung a glove, missed it, but there was nobody behind him. They couldn't catch up the flight of the ball.
I mean, there's a strong argument, isn't there, Richard, that Oblak's the best goalkeeper in the world, but even he has looked ruffled on occasion tonight.
I mean, I don't think it's the easiest night for goalkeepers with the wind and the rain, and strong wind, strong rain too. That is definitely, at times the rain's been slanting in, at times it's been coming straight down, it's been sleet at times. During the break between full time and extra time, it was almost a hailstorm. The managers were conducting their team talks for extra time with mini stones bouncing off their shoulders. It's a bit calmer, the weather now, but still not particularly pleasant. Salah now for Liverpool, leading 2-1 on the night, but going out as things stand. Salah dancing to the edge of the box and shooting it, hit Thomas Partey, arms behind the back, dropping towards Wijnaldum, who's going to try and let it go for the corner. Well defended though, and Atletico clear the ball all the way across the field into the dugouts on the near side. And it's a throw to Liverpool, whose fans are biting their nails. Morata preparing to come on for Atletico. That will be their third change of potentially 4 now. Alexander-Arnold and Salah down the right-hand side, in towards Milner, tried to roll his man. Almost came for Firmino. Defensive work from João Felix, who might be cramping a little. Alexander-Arnold can't get in around the side, and it's a goal kick to Atletico. That João Felix stretch that we saw might explain this change, Andy.
Well, after that goal against Sevilla at the weekend, he was carrying a thigh injury. Took it easy in training. He's done very well to last 102 minutes. If that is going to be his last contribution, and if his last major contribution, as it looks like being, as he applauds the travelling fans from Madrid, it's going to be that assist for Marcos Llorente's goal, which could still turn out to be the vital one of this tie.
Yep, he's going to have to do an awful lot to repay the vast fee that Atleti paid for him from Benfica last summer, but
it's a start, isn't it?
It's certainly a large chunk if you make the decisive contribution in your team reaching the quarter-finals of the UEFA Champions League, which at the moment he is doing. Tremendous composure, but for a 20-year-old in that situation, all the more so. Morata's come on, he's been knocked to the floor immediately by James Milner, although Morata must have been leaning back into his man. So Liverpool free kick on the halfway line. 90 seconds to half-time in extra time. 2 goals in extra time, 1 for either side, so it's 2-1, 2-2 on aggregate. And Atleti at the moment going through on away goals. Here's Robertson to the edge of the box, but can't quite squeeze his pass through for Mane. Partey with the clearance, Milner sliding in. And it's out for an Atleti throw on the near side. Well, the team talks, you don't get much of a chance, do you, in between the first half and the second half of extra time to say very much. The gap's not a very long one, but the words are going to be vital for both managers, aren't they?
Well, no one's got enough breath to say for anything. I mean, these are 2 coaches who really like to cover the touchline as well, don't they, Richard?
Chance for Atletico here. Koke wide to Renan Lodi down the left-hand side. Wijnaldum is still pumping the legs in pursuit of him. Forces him to turn back, and Atleti collect the ball on the halfway line with Felipe. The diagonal ball cut out by Mane. Chance for Liverpool to counter back at Atleti here with Milner on the left-hand side. Feinted to cross, then plays the ball infield to Mane. Couldn't squeeze it to Salah, but it's come to Wijnaldum, who burst between 2 defenders. Wijnaldum, was he nudged over? No, referee says no foul. Here's Firmino, who's inside the box. Firmino just pushed out of it by Marcos Llorente, who looks strong and is now powering his run downfield. Morata has it. Marcos Llorente in the centre, who has been found. 1 defender in front of him, that's Gomez. Marcos Llorente goes on, shoots! Oh, he scored! He's done it again! And Simeone's dancing down the touchline now! Marcos Llorente had never scored a goal in the UEFA Champions League. He's got 2 in extra time, and Atletico Madrid might be heading to the quarter-finals. Anfield completely stunned. Liverpool 2, Atletico 2, 3-2 on aggregate.
And what a substitution that is by Diego Simeone. To bring on a midfielder to shore it up, really, to stem the red tide as Liverpool came forward in waves and waves in that second half. And in this second half of extra time, he's got 2 goals, 2 absolutely peerless finishes. That's magnificent. It was a good piece of play from Morata to hold the ball up. And then you just see, just stepping inside James Milner, outside James Milner there, using him as a shield so Adrian couldn't really see the ball. It's a good, strong, firm finish. And now Liverpool need 2.
Well, He came on wearing a cape. We didn't realise it at the time, but Marcos Llorente has elevated himself to superhero status here for Atletico Madrid. The goal in stoppage time at the end of the first half of extra time, and Liverpool need to score twice now to get out of this jam. Are they about to lose a European two-legged tie under Jurgen Klopp for the first time? They believe, I'm sure it's still possible. Wijnaldum wide to Alexander-Arnold, who clips in the cross over Milner, out by Marcos Llorente. Why not? Referee still hasn't whistled for the end of the first half of extra time. 3 goals in 15 minutes. Virgil van Dijk with the pass to Salah, to the right of centre. Salah lifts in the ball beyond Mane, header half away, collected by Robertson. Here's Milner with a chance to cross. Still we play on. Deep high cross from Milner towards Wijnaldum. Heads it down. Here's Firmino. Thomas Partey did really well. Stopped the shot and cleared the ball cleanly. And they're waiting for the whistle, Atleti, for the end of the first half of extra time, but still we play on. Referee adding time for celebrations. But now blows, and there is the end of the first half of extra time. And my goodness, how eventful was that? 93 minutes in, we thought the tie was heading Liverpool's way. 167 seconds later, it went back towards Atletico, and at the end of the period, well, Atletico are in charge. Half-time and extra time, Liverpool 2, Atletico 2, 3-2 on aggregate, Rob.
What an extraordinary 15 minutes of football, and the drama is not done. Let us know your thoughts. Hashtag MatchDayLive on Twitter. Who is going to see this one out? Atletico in a prime position now. This is Matchday Live.
For expert analysis and the best reaction, go to iTunes or Audio Boom and download the latest official UEFA Champions League podcast.
Diego Simeone has his Atletico players in a huddle near the halfway line. You barely get any time really at the change of half in extra time, but both Klopp and Simeone are using every single second they can drag out of this break to get their message across. Here is the situation now for Liverpool. Having conceded 2 away goals, having been 2-0 up on the night, Liverpool now must score twice. A reminder as well, we cannot go to penalties. The tie will be done in the next 15 minutes, and 2 goals from defensive midfielder Marcos Llorente has got Atletico in a brilliant position here, Richard Connolly. Liverpool bringing on Fabinho as they try and get ahead for a second time in this tie. He replaces Jordan Henderson.
Well, Fabinho on for 15 minutes. Who can make a difference for Liverpool? I wonder, yes, Divock Origi is on. I think Gini Wijnaldum might be the player who's gone off, yes. So Origi, who has made himself a hero on a number of occasions for Liverpool, not least in the semi-final and final of last season's competition, is on to try and produce something even more incredible than what he's achieved with this club already. Jose Maria Jimenez is coming on for Atletico as well, and if he goes as well as the Marcos Llorente substitution, then Atletico will be in business. So 3 changes at half-time in extra time. Both sides, well, they've made 7 changes between them. Liverpool still have one potentially. Minamino, Lallana and Matip are unused on the bench from the outfield players. Off we go. Liverpool in the red, attacking the Kop end. They've done extraordinary things on European nights in the recent past. This might top the lot if they get through from this position. Needing 2 goals in 15 minutes in the second half of extra time. It's going to be an all-out assault on the Kop end. Atleti in the black shirts with the red numbers. Liverpool all in red. The white numbers. Mane curls in a cross, headed up in the air by Savic. Oblak is coming, and Oblak catches and falls to the ground. And every second will be precious in this second half of extra time for Atletico Madrid. The name of Llorente was a big one in the UEFA Champions League last season, wasn't it? Think of Fernando for Tottenham against Manchester City. It's Marcos this year who is capturing the headlines in the knockout stages so far. The champions on the brink here with a free kick near the halfway line. It's been played down the right-hand side. The ball was taken quickly to Mane. Alexander-Arnold with the low ball in now to Salah. Wide to Mane. Low ball in. Oblak pushes it away. Salah couldn't get to the rebound. And Adrian picks it up inside his own half. It's just defence at the moment from Atleti. All hands to the pump. Jimenez on, adding to their defensive numbers. Robertson crossed it. Struck the defender and spun away to the far side. That was Vasalico who made the block. It's more than defence now as Morata chases after the clearance. But it's back to Adrian from Gomez. Adrian's misplaced pass looks like a huge turning point on the night now. Liverpool were leading by 2-0 when it occurred. And Joao Felix passing to Marcos Llorente to punish Liverpool and score the away goal. Here's Mane down the right-hand side. Mane into Firmino, who got one and trying to dribble through, gets a corner off Renan Lodi. The two Brazilians shoulder to shoulder. A smile on the face of Firmino. Corner. Alexander-Arnold will take from the right-hand side. Origi's in there. Van Dijk is in there too. Header out by Savic, I think it was, for Atletico. Milner trying to thread a pass back to Alexander-Arnold, but away by Atletico Madrid, hoofed downfield. Andy,
this is just one way. This is Liverpool putting them under siege and then them clubbing it away. Atletico haven't even got a player. I don't think they've had a player in the opposition half throughout the second half, have they, so far? I know it's only a couple of minutes old, but still.
2 minutes 45 on the watch of the 15 that will be played. Liverpool have to score twice. Atleti don't look too bothered by scoring at the moment. They've got the goals they need. Salah pokes it into Mane. Mane knocked over. Referee says play on. Shoulder to shoulder. Wag of the finger from Danny McAlee. No great appeal from Mane or from the players around him, even if there was one inevitably from the cop behind him. Here's Milner. Atleti defending so deep and barely bothering to even chase the loose ball. Salah now. They're just gambling that they can keep Liverpool out, that anything Liverpool will throw at them, they will repel. And who would bet against them now? The defending champions against the kings of defending. 3-2 on aggregate, Atleti lead. Long throw, Gomez, near post. Flick by Firmino, came off Thomas Partey, corner. This is just going to be relentless.
It is. I mean, it's a 9-1 formation from Atletico, isn't it? With Morata as the one.
Alexander-Arnold, corner, high. Oblak thought about coming, didn't come, then the whistle went. And the ball from the corner, I think, swung out of play. And it will be a goal kick to Atletico Madrid. This is their third visit to Anfield, and they have scored on all 3 occasions. You might recall the Europa League semi-final of 2010, which they won on away goals thanks to a Diego Forlan strike in extra time. They had a 1-1 draw in the group stage 2 years before that as well, of the UEFA Champions League.
He always had a jolly time at Anfield, Diego Forlan, didn't he?
Yeah, that was one of the jolliest.
Also for Manchester United.
Yeah. Long ball downfield by Liverpool towards Salah. That's going to be a goal kick to Atletico as the ball dribbles across the goal line. Salah's curly hair being buffeted still by the wind. Might be a wind of change, with the defending champions heading out with 10 minutes of the second half of extra time to go.
There are a few passengers out there. You look at Renan Lodi limping a little bit.
Yeah.
He's really struggling. He was a fitness doubt for this game in the first place. I think the last thing he wanted was 120 minutes against, well, just an absolutely fantastic side in Liverpool, the reigning European champions. But for how much longer, Richard?
Well, the reigning champions going out in the rain at the moment. Gomez has it inside his own half. Low ball forward to the near side. Mane is appearing on the right here. Liverpool have Mane and Salah on this near side. Mane pass forward to Milner. Milner lays it off for Salah. Origi is in the centre with Firmino. Fabinho collects, man on, scream the crowd. Mane squares it to Van Dijk, now to Robertson over on the far side. It's all happening in front of the Atletico defence at the moment. Here's Salah now, right side, left foot, trying to get into the penalty area, but away by Lodi, who is still battling away. Here's Robertson now, wide towards Origi. Origi left edge of the penalty box, looking for an obvious pass, then tried to pull the shot back into the near corner and missed the target, and there are 9 minutes to go.
There's some disappointed voices in the crowd, some disappointed teammates who are hoping to receive that ball from Divock Origi. But they need to shoot, they need to get some efforts on goal.
Jurgen Klopp just pulled the mouthpiece of the schnood up over his mouth and nose once that shot had gone wide. He's trying to demonstrate the kind of positive energy on the touchline that I guess he has to. But everybody of a Liverpool persuasion must have their doubts now. The task is so great. And that's going to be a foul against Joe Gomez as the ball was played up to Morata. Gomez trying to win it, but from the wrong side. Morata's down, free kick Atletico Madrid.
Yeah, just a little bit over-eager there, Joe Gomez. I mean, Atletico will be delighted for that free kick. Saw Koke on the ball there before. He looks as if he's flagging a little bit himself. Diego Simeone's captain, his mouthpiece on the pitch, getting instruction from the coach there.
What a time to be an Atletico Madrid supporter in the Anfield Road end of this ground. A cushion in extra time. Even if Liverpool score, your team is still going through at the moment. They must be loving every second. But for the Liverpool supporters, it is agony at the moment. Minamino is about to come on for them. 7 minutes maybe, plus a few seconds to make a difference. Firmino's coming off. I think we thought that he'd struck the winner in this tie, but things changed amazingly quickly. Minamino is on for Firmino. 7 minutes to play. Reverse ball from Milner. It's going to find Origi over on the left flank by the corner flag. Robertson's cross in there. Thomas Partey with the header away. Great big crowd of black-shirted players in that penalty box in front of the Kop end. It's going to have to be a fine cross or a fine bit of passing to work its way through them or beyond them. Atleti just trying to concentrate. Milner in with the floated ball. Van Dijk playing at centre forward has fouled his man. Free kick Atletico Madrid, 6.5 minutes remain. 2-2 on the night, 3-2 Atletico on aggregate.
Yeah, the Anfield crowd still trying to lift its team, but the noise we can hear at the moment is those travelling fans from Madrid enjoying their night, as you were saying, Richard. I don't think they can quite believe what's happened in extra time, nor can any of us.
Will still be a successful season for Liverpool when they bring the English title back to Anfield for the first time in 30 years. But if they fall here from the Champions League, having fallen out of the FA Cup in the recent past, then the disappointment will certainly sting. Saul with a throw-in on the near touchline. Up to Morata it goes, bounces off the striker's chest. Out for a Liverpool throw-in, taken quickly by Alexander-Arnold. There are 5 minutes and change remaining. A goal for Liverpool now can change the mood and give us a grandstand finish.
Yeah, we're just hearing the Atleti fans singing the club anthem. A bit early maybe for the victory lap.
There's Mane trying to dribble his way past the redoubtable Koke, but Mane won it back, and then Mane curls an effort and curls it wide of goal. It looked on a good trajectory when it left his foot, but it started a little too wide, and another few seconds elapse, and Atleti move another few seconds closer to the quarter-finals, which they're hoping to reach for the 5th time in 7 years.
For the first time tonight, Anfield's gone a little bit quiet, hasn't it, in the home sections. I think the enormity of what's happening is starting to hit home. Liverpool just looking for that bit of inspiration, or just a slip from a really tired Atletico team.
Big diagonal from Alexander-Arnold up towards Virgil van Dijk, who went down on the edge of the penalty area, but nothing given. It was a fair challenge. Now Fabinho's gone in strongly on Morata, and he's won the ball. Out to Origi, it goes on the left-hand side. Origi's cross off for Salako for a Liverpool corner. They needed something to get the noise emanating from the Kop. They've taken it quickly. Origi to Milner, who swings it in. Header away from the near post by Saul for Atletico. Again, there's a long line of black shirts in there. Here's Alexander-Arnold to the near side for Minamino. Now Salah, 25 metres out, looking for a 1-2. Fabinho clips it back wide to Minamino. Time to cross. He's measured it well. Van Dijk up early. It's a header that he didn't make great contact with. And then the challenge by Milner on the goalkeeper leaves Oblak in a heap. It's a foul by Milner. A free kick for Atletico Madrid. And more time off the clock. Van Dijk got up well, but it was a good attempt at the challenge with him, and he didn't get a clean header on target.
Yeah, very, very well defended by Jimenez. He's just taking his time, really, Oblak. A little bit winded, and of course Atletico and Diego Simeone will be more than happy for him to take his time with the clock ticking away.
Less than 3 minutes to go. And in truth, it's been feeling like Atletico's night now for the last 10 minutes or so, since the second goal went in from Marcos Llorente. But now, well, they are celebrating. Liverpool can score now, and it won't make any difference to the overall outcome. And belief is ebbing away as Alexander-Arnold and Fabinho make a mess of the throw-in on the near side. Atletico have the throw-in close to their own fans, near to the Liverpool goal. And while the ball is in this part of the field, Liverpool can do no damage. Morata's heading to the corner flag, and he's won the corner from Minamino. And now Morata turns and eggs on the Atletico fans behind that goal. This is going to be a huge night for the whole club of Atletico de Madrid, and for the individuals too. An evening to savour. Morata takes the short corner with Koke. Alexander-Arnold barges him over. Free kick. Oh, now Morata went in with a head on Alexander-Arnold. Nothing too violent, but nonetheless a little unnecessary. And Danny Macaulay has some work to do, and he's got the yellow card out for Alexander-Arnold and for Alvaro Morata. 90 seconds of extra time to go. In truth, I think we know there's no time for Liverpool to get the 2 goals they require. There were 167 seconds between Firmino's second for Liverpool and the 2-1 goal for Marcos Llorente, which shifted the momentum of this tie completely. There are only 64 seconds and counting left in the tie. Liverpool are going to lose a European tie under Jurgen Klopp for the very first time. Foul committed by Partey on Mane. Atleti have booted the ball out of play. A yellow card for Saul for doing so. And Liverpool have taken the free kick, and they are gamely moving the ball forward. More in hope than expectation. Van Dijk at centre forward, nods it down. Salah collects. Challenge came in from Jimenez, who boots the ball away. Ball was close to his hand as he made the sliding challenge, but the referee was right there. And really, we're counting down to a major victory for Atletico Madrid, who are heading for the quarter-finals of the UEFA Champions League, leading 3-2 on aggregate. Maybe one last chance for Liverpool. Salah on the edge, cleared by Felipe. Alexander-Arnold collects, crosses, away by Savic this time, who says, come on, let's get out of the penalty area. The whistle can't be far away. We're into stoppage time at the end of extra time, and a 1-2 between Marcos Llorente and Morata is in behind, and he can finish it here! Alvaro Morata seals a memorable night for Atletico Madrid, one of their greatest, and Simeone has come to Anfield for the first time in his career, and he has won! just won the tie, they've won the game now as well. 3 goals in extra time. Klopp is beaten, Liverpool are beaten, the champions are out. Liverpool 2, Atletico Madrid 3, 4-2 on aggregate.
It is an absolutely remarkable night, and the Liverpool fans responding in the way you'd expect them to, backing their team as they always do. But again, Marcos Llorente, absolutely vital, holding it up in the centre of the pitch, just waiting until he had those Liverpool players around him and pushing forward a simple ball to Morata. That fresh pair of legs who's gone through so much running in the time that he's been on the pitch, getting the goal that he deserves.
And they all went to celebrate in front of the Atletico fans, and why not? An amazing moment for Atletico Madrid. An amazing half hour for Atletico Madrid. From elimination to ecstasy in the space of 20 minutes. Minamino trying still to dribble into the away team's penalty area. Liverpool are still playing, but it's beyond them now. They need 3. And Milner's pass goes out of play, and that might bring about the whistle. What a victory this is going to be. What a season this might yet turn out to be. There's the whistle. The champions fall at Anfield. And who saw that coming? No remarkable comeback for Klopp's Liverpool this year. Instead, an extraordinary extra time for Atletico Madrid, for Diego Simeone, for Marcos Llorente, who scores twice in the UEFA Champions League for the first time to knock out the defending champions. What a night. For Liverpool, heartbreak. For Atleti, sheer ecstasy. It has finished on the night after extra time. Liverpool 2, Atletico Madrid 3, 4-2 on aggregate.
Richard, Andy, thank you very much. What a dramatic night at Anfield. Diego Simeone's out there hugging and shaking hands of players, his own and those of Liverpool. It has been tremendous drama on Merseyside, a Champions League classic, and Atletico have come out on top. Adrian and his Liverpool teammates head towards the tunnel. They are beaten, the holders are out. Hope you've enjoyed our coverage on Matchday Live tonight. Headed into the quarterfinals, Paris Saint-Germain and Atletico Madrid.
You've heard the action, now watch it. Log on to UEFA.com at midnight where you are to see free video highlights of this evening's UEFA Champions League matches.
Well, we had 2 goals in 180 minutes, and then we had 4 in half an hour. And I wouldn't have predicted 3 of them would come from Atletico. But they've done it, Richard Connolly, and the first leg was essential Atletico, textbook Atletico. The second leg almost wasn't really. The way they found their way in extra time and got those goals, tremendous stuff.
Yeah, but I think Liverpool can reflect now that they had the chances in normal time to win the tie. And they could have won 2 or 3-0, I think, before the 90 minutes elapsed. And Simeone and Atletico would not have had too many complaints about that. And in the end, Adrian will feel desperate about the misplaced pass that gave Atletico the chance to score their goal when they were really being asked the questions tactically. Finally, Liverpool, to their eyes, I'm sure, had got ahead in the tie into extra time with Firmino's goal. And we were just beginning to wonder, well, how will Simeone shift things tactically? And they were presented with an opportunity. Now, they took that opportunity wonderfully well. Joao Felix, instead of going on himself, waited for the runner, timed the pass. The run was perfect from Marcos Llorente. The finish